2, 1, and we are live. Welcome back, guys. Team List Tuesday is coming in hot, and we're not going to start with last week's team list. We're going to go this week's team list here. Fire through your questions, though, guys. What questions do you have for this week before we rip into these team lists? So round 2, that's how you find it, in case anyone didn't know. Ripping straight through. And Broncos v Eels up first. Ooh-wee. Before we do jump in there, let's just say 220 people waiting. Cheers, Felt, for calling out the likes here. Drop it a like. Where's that glorious bald head? Love it. A wizard is never late, I'll say. Could buy on the bench there. Yeah, could buy is one that you can probably sell. Who is in the top 1K? Not many coaches are in the top. Hi, Mr. Tran. Hello, Mr. Tran.
Sup?
How you doing, Teacher Turtle? Not wearing the suit this week. Top 5 must-have cheapies. We'll talk about those guys today. Trade To'o. I think To'o is one that you keep 100%. Then a lot of friendly comments coming through. Hi, Mr. Tran. It's Alex. And the background looks good as. Yeah, pumping up that background. I've been doing a bit of work here building the home studio. So I'll give you guys a guide later. But you can see behind Turtles there, 09 Eels Storm jersey, an 01 Australia jersey, 01 Parramatta jersey, and a Legend State of Origin jersey. So a lot on my side. Now, let's rip into these team lists here first. So we got the Broncos v the Eels to open things up here. And we're looking at Reece Walsh at fullback. Backline is Karapani, Staggs, Shibasaki, and Mariner. In the halves, we've got Ezra Mam and Adam Reynolds. Forward pack is Corey Jensen, Corey Pakes, Payne Haas in the front row. Jezewski, Ricky, and Carrigan in the back row. Interchange is Ben Hunt, Xavier Wilson, Ben Tolte, All Blacks Taufa. And then on the extended part of that is Grant Anderson and Jaden Hunt. Now, I'll throw to you first here, Turtles. This Broncos team list, does anything surprise you here, or is this sort of what you were expecting?
It's basically what they originally named in week 1. There was some late changes with Ezra Mam and Ben Hunt. But what we're looking for here is a bounce back from the Broncos. Like, there's no real surprises in the team list itself, but we want to see an improvement on their performance, their attitude, and their resilience. We want to see them come back here.
Yep. And Parramatta's thinking the same thing, right? So, yeah, I think this is a good side, though. And when I look at fantasy implications here, I'm probably looking at Reece Walsh, predominantly. That's a guy we bunch of us have. I think Adam Reynolds does enter the watch list for a lot of people after dropping a bunch of cash last week. Then you go into the forward pack here. You go Payne Haas, of course, very popular. Some coaches are on Carrigan, but really it's those guys. So for Reece Walsh first, we'll talk about this. The play style when Ben Hunt is in the halves with Adam Reynolds just doesn't seem to be good for Reece Walsh. I thought maybe they might shake that last week, but they absolutely didn't. So it's really good news if you're a Walsh owner that he's got Ezra Mam in the halves there. A lot of Reece Walsh's scores have come with Ezra Mam or really without Ben Hunt in the halves. It's a big thing. Do you see much of a difference there in play style, Turtles?
Yeah, definitely. Like, Ezra Mam is a little bit similar to Reece Walsh. They're both a little bit explosive. They both have that really fast, explosive running game. Whereas Ben Hunt, I wouldn't say he's a complete game manager, but he's a bit old. He's a bit more clunkier in attack, but he does have a bit better kicking game compared to Ezra Mam. So when you have him sitting next to Reynolds, who does all the game manager stuff already, it's kind of weird having Ben Hunt also playing in that 6 role with Reynolds in the side. I don't mind it when Ben Hunt takes the 7 role if Reynolds is injured, which we see quite often. But alongside Reynolds, it's kind of like a no-go for me. When you have Ezra Mam and Adam Reynolds lining up on the left and then Reece Walsh going by himself on the right, it confuses the opposition because they're thinking that their attacks are all going to be coming for your playmakers, for Ezra Mam and Reynolds, but that's where Walsh can create opportunities on the short side. So I like this configuration. Whether it sticks or not, there might be a late-minute change like it was last week. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I'm hoping it doesn't. As a Walsh owner. And I think the projection here is that Walsh is going to bounce back this week. You'd expect that. Parramatta obviously hopeless in defense last week. Silvio Lungo was on 5 points at halftime, ended up at 55, and they let every single Storm cheapie score as many points as they wanted in that game. So if you're a Walsh owner, my point all week on this is going to be hold Reece Walsh. Do not trade him. You got on the train. Now you're stuck on the train. There's no getting off now. Down the list here, Payne Haas. And this is an interesting one because he pumped out a 56 last week in about 78 minutes. So pretty feeble PPM for Payne Haas. And that's, you don't get to say that often, right? It was pretty disappointing from Haas. He had that 80-minute game earlier in the preseason as well in that World Club Challenge too. And again, not for a massive PPM that game. I think it was like a 67. in 80 minutes. So I look at this and just go, ooh, is there a game plan change or something for Payne Haas? But then I think about the fact that the Broncos have lost both the games where this has happened. So I don't necessarily think it is going to be something they stick with. I think that last week's going to be a big wake-up call. I think we see Payne Haas revert back to the norm this week, and I think he should be rock solid in this game. You throw in the fact that Jermaine Hopgood's out for Parramatta, so Jack Williams moves to the middle. You got Kelma Tuolangi moving to the edge. Now, Jack Williams is very effective in the middle, but Kelma does weaken the defensive unit on a whole as well. So I think Payne Haas is going to be fine here, but I'll just throw to you, Turtles. What do you think on the Payne Haas front?
It's kind of weird because before the season started, I was like, Payne Haas, most expensive player in the comp on fantasy. How is he going to improve? And then I tried using NRL fantasy stats online, and I was trying to figure out how would he improve. And the only thing I could see that would be an improvement is if he got more than 60 minutes. Unfortunately, during the World Cup Challenge and against Penrith, he got more than 60 minutes. We saw that, but the performance went down. So I don't know if it's the coach telling him, hey, you're going to be playing a lot more minutes. I want you to be a little bit more relaxed. Don't take as many runs and don't be as explosive. Don't exert too much energy and then play bigger minutes. In fantasy-wise, it's a huge trade-off. It's a bad trade-off, essentially, because when he's taking those balls and he's taking those dynamic runs, he's not just running straight through the middle. He's usually running at like the weaker edges or tired forwards, or even just like the halfbacks as well, because they're usually a lot smaller than your forwards. That's when he gets those tackle breaks, line breaks, and then if they're falling off his tackles, he throws the offload as well. Right now, he's just running straight through the middle. He's running through the biggest guys on the team. And to start the year, most coaches are asking for their teams to work on the defense, especially down the middle. So it's going to be interesting how the Eels bounce back, because the Eels were terrible in the middle against the Storm. Harry Grant ran riot against them. If the coach tells the Eels, hey, I need you guys to step up in the middle, I want to sharpen that defense there, but then the Broncos stick to whatever game plan they did last week, then we're just going to see more of the same. Like, he might get more minutes, but it's not that effective in fantasy. So I'm hoping for a 60 plus, but it could easily be under that. I don't think we're going to see him ever score under 50 though. So he's a very safe captain option, which has that really high upside, explosiveness, power, kind of like a David Fifita-esque. Like, he has the potential to do that.
Yep, I'll pay that. I just got a few questions coming through as well. And actually, I might ask you, could you bring that mic forward to that lower level?
Yeah.
People just mentioned it was a little quiet. And I want to hear your voice. But cash generation or chasing points at this stage of the year. Now, this is a big decision you've got to make as you're going through fantasy. You want to try and do both, ideally. So when I look at my roster, and you're probably looking at your roster too, you're probably building out your bench and going, all right, I have a couple of spare players who I'd actually be very comfortable playing in my 17. Now, that means that you don't want to make trades that weaken your 17 in terms of scoring. So what I've seen in terms of mistakes that people are making right now is they're looking at their side and they're trading one of their underperforming outside backs who's a good player, like a Reece Walsh or one of these types of players, out for, an Atkinson or one of these types. And they're strengthening their bench, which is very strong, and they're making their backline weaker, thus making their team weaker overall in terms of scoring. So it's a bit better for cash generation, but it's a weak move in terms of point scoring. So you want to maximize both cash generation and point scoring. I think in terms of what you're chasing, it's cash gen, but don't accidentally fall into the trap of destroying your scoring potential with those cash gen trades. It's a mistake I'm seeing a lot of coaches making right now. Now, for the Broncos, that's pretty much it. There's not really super relevant guys here other than Jack Tuzewski, who might score a double in this game. But we'll roll across to Parramatta. And on the Eels side of the ball, it's and by the way, guys, fire your questions through on Broncos and Eels first. And then at the end of the video, we do those Q&As on your teams as well. And while I'm reading this out, drop a comment. Let me know what you think Payne Haas is going to score this week. Payne Haas, score predictions, fire them through. Now for Parramatta, Isaiah Yongi's at fullback. We have Simonson, Penasini, Russell, and Josh Adokar in the back line. Jonah Pezzett and Mitch Moses in the halves. I'm going to get excited for this team list because last week doesn't count. This is round one. Forward pack, Jack Williams, Riley Smith, and Junior Barlow. We have Kelma Tuolangi, Kidioni Kautonga, and Jack DeBellin in the back row. The interchange, brought to you by the Casual Athlete, Dylan Walker, Sam Tuiviti, Matt Dury. Then we have Talon De Silva, Charlie Geimer, and Josh Papali'i on the bench. This is a cracker side if we don't count last week. I'm trying to generate some excitement from my side about the Eels because I am pissed about that performance last week. It was absolutely pathetic, and it's very hard to recommend owning many Parramatta players. And the one I might have recommended has gotten himself suspended. It's Jermaine Hopgood. Now, Turtles, I'll go to you because you're a bit less emotional and biased about this. If you own Jermaine Hopgood, right, he played 50 minutes. It included a sin bin, so he lost some minutes, right? So it might have been closer to 60 minutes without the sin bin. Right, so 50 minutes, he had 50 points. That was a -7 for that sin bin, so it would have been about a 57 in 50. So if he looked at a regular 60-minute roll, it was probably about a 62, 63 type of score, which would have been really good for Hopgood owners. Did you see enough in that game to think, yeah, if you have Hopgood, stick with him through the suspension, ride that 1 week wave and see how he goes?
Yeah, definitely. Like the Sinbin basically gets a whole bunch of negative points, but the biggest factor is he's also missing that 10 minutes. And he's got a decent enough PPM where he will accumulate his points in that 10 minutes. So I feel like if he's getting 62 to 65, which I would have expected if he didn't minus that Sinbin, then we're definitely keeping him. Like, I don't even know why people are thinking about selling him. There's a lot more other problems with people's teams that I'm looking at. Like, people are asking me if they should sell Hopgood, but I'm looking at their bench and they got Laban. And I'm like, get rid of him first. You know, I don't know why you're swapping it. And most people are pretty stacked in our mids as well. Like, a lot of people have Payne Haas or Yo, Cohoon. Everyone has Trey Mooney as well. So I feel like there's not a dire need for mids. Some people are running a little bit low, but I feel like it's easily fixed as well. A lot of people also have Stefano Ikamanu. Looking at this Eels team, I feel like one of the biggest differences from last week is Josh Adokar. I feel like he brings so much energy to this team. He's another attacking weapon. He's lethal on the edges. He adds that pressure with his speed as well. I feel like Eels might put up a fight here. I actually also have... Do you want to add to that? I also have Jack Williams on my side. So... I don't mind the move to middle. I think he gets a lot of work done there. I think he originally was a middle when he came from the Sharks, and then the Eels kind of transitioned him to second row towards end of last year, like halfway through. So I'm keen to see how many minutes he gets here. The bench is kind of favorable. Like, I feel like Dury and Tuivasa don't really take up too many minutes. Walker will come on for Jack DeBellin, and then Talon De Silva comes on for Smith. So if I get Jack Williams at 60 minutes for 1 ppm, I'm pretty happy with that. He got 55 last week, so I'm pretty happy with Jack Williams.
Yeah, that number included 44 tackles with 1 miss, right? So you're looking at 42 points in base defense. He had about 100 meters as well. So about a 50 in base. Didn't have all that flashy stuff. I think he's going to have some attacking days as well. So he's a good shout, man. That was a nice pod. We're getting asked the question quite a bit too, so I might just cover this briefly and get your thoughts as well. Actually, sorry, this wasn't the one. How would you rank the cheapies in terms of importance? From Sebastian Horn and about 10 other people. Cheapies are interesting this week. I think you look at really 2 things when you're looking at cheapies. So the first one is actually 3 things. Talent in terms of on the footy field, like, are they a good player in real life? Talent in terms of fantasy production, are they a point scorer for fantasy? And job security or opportunity there. And usually it's more opportunity we look at. So in terms of those 3 categories, if you're looking at a guy like, let's say Martin, the back rower at Canberra, he's a guy who talent-wise on the field scored 2 tries, looked amazing. Talent-wise in terms of fantasy production, has great history of scoring points in reserve grade and pumped out an 80. And opportunity there has been improved by the fact that May Nicholson is now out for a bit with the shoulder issue. There is still risk that Matt Tomoko comes in and Sasangi plays a bit of edge back row, but I think the way Martin played in that game will secure him that spot. So he basically ticks off all 3 points there, not at an A+ level, but at about an A level, and the upside pushes it to an A+. You know, a guy like Ryan Couchman's an interesting one. Again, talent-wise, he was really good in that game. He produces points at about a ppm. The job security and the opportunities, not amazing. He came off the bench and played 60, but is he going to do that every week? I don't know if we can confidently say that. And then you work down the list and you look at guys like Armour Howe, for example. Howe was in a Titans team that lost by 50, right? So you sort of go, oh, is he going to keep his spot? You know, Josh Patson's jersey 22. That's one that I'm a bit more sus on. You look at like a Moses Leo or Lasardi. Lasardi's got Blore to contend with on the extended bench. Moses Leo historically hasn't been a great scorer, but he showed it in that game. So I guess it's a question of which story you believe. But really my answer is Ryan Couchman, Martin are the 2 that you're really targeting. And then after that, you could look at guys like Lasardi, Howe, Moses, Leo, these types, but I'm assuming people have sort of some of those other options there. I'll throw to you, Turtles, for any additional thoughts.
Also, some players or some coaches also don't have Lukey. I feel like Lukey, he's not as cheap as the other guys, but he's locked in that role. We love the 80 minutes that we saw last week as well. He did score a try, but he also got a whole bunch of tackles in. So his base is still relatively high. If you don't have him, you got to pick him up. And it's kind of crazy that we're saying that, because if you look at all the cheapies that we're saying, we have, including Lukey, it's Lukey, Howe, Lasardi, what's his name?
Yeah.
Noel Martin and Ryan Couchman. There's like 5 edges. And it's like, if you have an expensive edge, like I have Jack Williams and Angus Crichton, and a lot of people have David Fafita as well. It's like, where are you playing all your edges? And like, unless you have a whole bunch of Bulldogs that you're looping this week, which most people don't, how are you going to loop in all these edges that how are they going to fit in your team? Because there's not that many spots. So choose wisely. I feel like the number, like you said, Noel Martin's number 1. Number 2 would probably be Ryan Couchman. And then working down the list, kind of depending on what you need. So let's say you really, really need a center, wing fullback, then maybe Moses Leo might fill that role for you. If you don't like Makasini for some reason.
Yeah, squad composition is massive. That's the big thing there. It's a tough one. I mean, I started not Ryan Couchman, Noah Martin outright. I know a lot of people started Ryan Couchman or put him on their bench as well. So it definitely helps if you've done that move. For Parramatta, I'll just briefly touch on a few guys. Penasini, couple of line breaks last week, 35 points. If you think Parramatta are going to be a good team, you could stick with him. I personally haven't been hyped on Penasini, and I'm still not hyped on Penasini as a scorer. Just going to be too inconsistent. Mitch Moses, that was about as bad a game as you could have, right? 35 points. Again, if you think Parramatta turn it around, he's a guy you can stick with. But I think with the opportunities we have elsewhere, and the fact that Atkinson could be close to Moses, I think Moses will finish ahead of him, but Atkinson could push him, right? That's a trade that you can make. Or if you don't have Sanders, that's a trade you can make to free up some cash. Jack Williams is one you stick with for sure. The rest of it, no one really has these other Parramatta players, so we can roll through to the next game. Now, Warriors v Raiders. The Wires got a massive win last week. That was... What a game, man. What a game. Everyone wrote them off, and they just came out and absolutely pummeled the Roosters. The Chooks, no offense to any Chooks fans, but they just didn't look like they were ready to play footy this week, and they've actually made a few changes to their side. Nat Butcher being benched is one of those, which is tough for anyone who potted up with him. But for the Wires, we'll roll through. So backline here is CNK at fullback. We've got DWZ, Leotower, Pompey, and RTS in the backline. Halves are CHT and Tanner Boyd, who had a killer of a game last week. Forward pack, we have JFH, Egan and Ford. And then in the back row, we've got Capewell, Laban, and Aaron Clark. Interchanges, we have Healy, Valmunga, Halasima, TSS, and then we have Tuapiki and Gannon on the extended bench. Now, for the Warriors, I don't think there's much to talk about in terms of fantasy here. I think, look, when we look at the Warriors, the reason I like the Warriors this year to do well is they're also the reason why I don't like them for fantasy. So it's that they had all these injuries last year, and all the guys that were sort of a tier below got the opportunity to step up and absolutely killed it last year, which means they're priced on last year. So there's not really much of an opportunity. Like Aaron Clark, for example, he's going to get pressure from all the guys returning and Mitch Barnett eventually coming back. I feel the same about Jackson Ford. You can talk about all these guys. But if we're going to talk about a few players, maybe James Fisher-Harris is a pod. Maybe we talk about Capewell. People might have gone with him. Tanner Boyd. I mean, which one of those names is jumping out at you, Turtles?
It's probably James Fisher-Harris, but I also don't like it. Like, James Fisher-Harris had a whole bunch of turnover tackles. He brought the aggression last week to a Roosters pack, which on paper looks really strong. But if you take away, what's his name, Spencer Linu, who's kind of their enforcer or aggressor on that team, and now you throw him up against a very formidable Raiders pack, and the Raiders are known for their forward pack. Like, you have Tarpanay, you've got Horsburgh, even the guys coming off the bench like Mariota, they all do a job. And I don't know if Fisher-Harris will be able to bully him as much as they did with the Roosters. So maybe if we can expect, I don't know, getting rid of maybe 2 of those turnover tackles, then he might end up closer to a 50. So I'm not a fan of Tanner Boyd because I feel like, we got another few weeks before, what's his name? The halfback for
Luke Metcalf, yeah.
Luke Metcalf.
He might be back sooner, is what I've heard too. So.
Luke Metcalf's coming back, so Tanner Boyd's a no for me. Kurt Capewell is interesting because he has that dual position. A lot of people have started with him but he got pretty lucky. Like he put in the effort. He's a high effort player, but he also gets a lot of missed tackles. And we've seen this year after year. Like the reason we're starting at this price is not by accident. So yeah, I'm pretty turned off with this whole Warriors pack. What I do find interesting is Aaron Clark. If he gets cheap enough, let's say he gets sub 600K, he's going to be basically in my team. I feel like he just does a lot. And he's had a poor start. I want this to roll over for another 2-3 weeks and then see that price come down. And then he will look very, very interesting.
Yeah, if people are asking about K-Ball, I'm going to repeat what you've said there and sort of say, nah, don't chase the points. I think it was like a 48 or 49 in a game where he had a try and a try assist. That was a line break try as well. So, unless you back him to be pumping out tries every week, it's probably not going to work out. We're getting asked for an office tour while we're right next to each other. The chairs are almost here. So next week we'll be sitting next to each other in the proper studio sort of setup. So get excited for that. It's going to be fun. But yeah, for the Wires, I agree. I think it's going to be a bit tough. Aaron Clark is getting cheaper, so maybe he might be relevant later. Jacob Laban, I couldn't bring myself to get on Jacob Laban, and I did share this with the guys on Discord, just because of the fact that Halasima was on that bench, and it was going to screw over either Cape or Laban, and I just wasn't willing to take that gamble. His score was really low, though. He had like a bunch of missed tackles and all that, and yeah, this is actually fair. Watch Laban score a 50 after we all hop off him. He is that kind of guy. Like he's got big attacking upside, so I can see the appeal, especially in the way the Warriors are playing. So yeah, interesting. And then Longy, I'm keeping Brown for the justice of your beard. If he sells me this week, you owe me a therapy session. We can do a therapy session. We'll do one over live here for everyone who's stuck with Dylan Brown, but I'm 100% sticking with Dylan Brown. Now we'll roll through to the Raiders team list here. And for the Raiders, we have KO Weeks at fullback. We're running Tamale, Sasangi, Chris, and Savage in the back line. Halves are Strange and Sanders. Forward pack, Smithies, Starling, Tarpanay. Back row is Young, Martin, and Horsburgh. Interchange, Brayley, Hosking, Mariota, Tomoko. And then we have Laurie and Roddy on the bench. Now, big thing to flag for this game here is that Zach Hosking played sub 40 minutes off the bench purely as a middle forward. So that looks like that's going to be the role going forward. That was even in a game where they did have an HIA in the middles as well. So could have been more minutes there, but Hosking looks like he's really sort of moved down the pecking order in this Canberra pack. I don't really understand why he's, keen to stay there with this role. I think he'd be a walk-up starter in quite a few teams. So he seems to want to play in the middle, which let's hope it keeps going because we're all on the Noah Martin Express. Now, Noah Martin is one of the most must-have buys of all must-have buys. Like, just go buy him 100%. He's 316K, I think. So he jumped about 66K. More money to come, 100% on that list too. So for Noah Martin, I look at the fact that last week, Gus Crichton grabbed a try in that game and they scored a 45. He had a try. And we saw Nat Butcher post a 60 last week without, any attacking stats. So for Noah Martin, another big game coming. Buy him and start him in your 17. It is so easy. There's no question there. You absolutely have to go get that. Then on the other side of things, Ethan Sanders. Now, he's one that you've been cool on through the preseason totals. Obviously, he had a best-case scenario game. Still only scored in the 50s. So I'm open to your thoughts here. You don't own Sanders right now, do you? Are you planning to get him?
Probably not. Like, I feel like, he got mid-50s or like 56 or 58 or whatever. But
mid-50s. Mid-58. He got nearly 60.
There you go. Right. So he got 58, but he got a field goal. That's 5 points.
Yep.
He scored a try with a line break in that. I don't think he's going to be scoring a try every game. I don't think he's going to be scoring a field goal every game. I feel like the goal kicking, the normal general play kicking, his normal base is fine. I feel like he's going to be a sub 50 player. Still good at that price point because he is cheaper than Brown. I wish I started with Sanders instead of Brown. Now with Brown, I'm kind of like umming and ahhing about it, but I'm still probably going to keep him. If I started with Sanders, I'm not umming and ahhing about that at all right? Because he started well. He's not a must-have because there's so many other quality must-haves in this side. I feel like people have to temper their expectations. I feel like he's going to score sub 50 this week against a strong Warrior pack, especially playing in New Zealand as well. Something I want to flag, which I found interesting, like we already talked about how maybe Simi Sasagi might come on for come off for Timoko, and then Simi Sasagi can release someone in the middle. I've kind of noticed they're missing someone in their forward pack. Like, where's Josh Papali?
HIA.
So he's out. So if Hosking and Mariota come into the middles for Tarpanay Smithies, Brayley comes on for Starling. Corey Horsburgh is not playing 80 minutes. So at some stage, Timoko is going to come on. Sasagi's going to come off. Horsburgh is also going to come off at some stage. Maybe Simi Sasagi just plays through the middle to take the Horsburgh role. Play that around with Hosking. Yep. So because they're missing that middle, I feel like Noah Martin already with I think it's a negative 20 break even, guaranteed moneymaker. Like guaranteed moneymaker, especially with this page.
Yeah, Noah Martin's a machine. We're getting a few questions too. Hamish out for Noah Martin, like that kind of question there. I don't necessarily love the idea of selling Hamish as much as the score wasn't that impressive with the overtime. I think you stick with him, but definitely try and get to Noah Martin 100%. That's really Canberra though. Like I'm not that interested in talking about Weeks, Tamale. Like, you know, if you've taken a bet on those guys, you're seeing what happens. I saw a few teams with Tarpanay in them in the preseason and said don't buy. I don't think anyone kept him, but definitely give him the flick. Hudson Young is one that sort of proved that he can just get it done no matter what. So he's one that we'll be targeting later in the season. Now, rolling through to this game, this could be an absolute cracker. Always a fun game, this one. I am hoping we get the Alex Johnston try, like double, to get to the record here. So this could be an absolute belter of a game. If you're any sort of Souths fan, you'll be at this game and you'll be storming the field when he scores that double this week. So let's rip into this. We've got the Roosters first. So James Tedesco at fullback. We're running Dan Tupou, Billy Smith, Rob Toya, and Mark Nawani-Dawase in the back line. Halves are Daly Trey Evans and Sam Walker. Forward pack here is Nafahu White. We have, I'm sorry, I've got to nail the pronunciation of this. So I've actually completely blanked. So it's Olu, I think it is, but I'll work on that before the next one. Collins in the front row, then Gus Crichton. Saw Wong takes a spot in the back row, and Egan Butcher steals the lock spot. Interchanges Connor Watson, Blake Steep, Nat Butcher, Celeste Fiketti, and we're looking at Cody Ramsey and Palgar on the extended bench. Now, a few things to talk about here for the Roosters. Rob Toya obviously comes back into the team. I wouldn't be rushing him in to your side, just on the fact that he wasn't ready for round one. You want to give that a bit of time. But at the same time, South Sydney, you know, they conceded 30 points in the rain last week. So, like we said, they're not a great defensive unit. And Rob Toya could potentially show out in this one. So, not a target for this week, but if you're brave, you're brave. We'll talk the spine, Tedesco, Trey Evans, and Walker. But I really want to talk about this forward pack first. So, Connor Watson came on in the 50th minute of that game, which in real footy terms makes no sense at all to me. Like, he's one of the best players in their team. So dynamic through the middle, and they were getting rolled through the middle as well. So I don't see that continuing. You know, you've got Nat Butcher now who's dropped down to the bench there. Saw Wong, I actually don't mind this move because Saw Wong was one of their best players when he was out there. He was absolutely fantastic. So yeah, a few changes here. Obviously, Spencer Lenu's out for about 4 weeks with that hamstring that struck at the last second. In terms of the forward rotations here, Turtles, do you see anything being beneficial for fantasy, or do you think it's just a case of let's stay away from the Roosters?
I think we stay away from the Roosters for now. There's just so many players who can play multiple roles. And I think you said last week, Roosters, they kind of see their middles and the second rollers, or not, like their lock as interchangeable, like props, basically. So like Egan Butcher could easily be playing prop, and Nat Butcher can come on for lock. Connor Watson can come on for lock. Fiketti can come on for lock. They can all play middle as well. So they all play up that middle. It's going to be very congested. We saw last week, the Roosters didn't really score too well, and basically the Warriors bullied them. I don't know how else to say that, but like they actually smashed them down the middle as well. I don't know if we're going to see that aggression through the Rabbits. Like Keon Koloamatangi was an absolute machine, getting all the run meters. So it's going to be constant tackling involved in this, and it's kind of a grudge match. So expect the tempers to flare. Maybe we get some more sin bins as well. We had some sin bins from the Rabbits last week as well. So it'll be interesting to see how this goes. I feel like Connor Watson is easily one of their best players in their forward pack, and he's easily one of their fittest players as well. So it's kind of strange that he's coming off the bench as your fittest player. He should be playing the most amount of minutes. And Egan Butcher at lock is so strange. Like, why is he there? Yeah, I don't know. It's odd to me, and I feel like they should move away from this and stop playing around. Like the season started. It's not preseason anymore. Like, time to get serious.
Yeah, I agree. I think we're going to see a bit of a bounce back though. Like, they're going to rock up for this game, and they always rev up against the Rabbitohs. So I could see them popping off. The fact that they started Saw Wong there, like, he was so physical when he came onto the field. He's looking really strong. So Saw Wong actually could be. I mean, he's expensive. He's like 600K, so it's too dicey. But yeah, as Rohit asked here, is it best to stay away from the rubber roulette? I think it probably is. Also, just a quick shout. We just pumped past 1,000 viewers here. So thank you, everyone, for jumping on. Absolutely love it. Just drop your comments in the live. Drop it a like. Share it with friends who like fantasy. Let's keep growing this thing. Now, Steep was a trap is a big question here from Dog Soldier. Steep is an interesting one. So he's one that's... He got dropped to the bench at the last second, and then he got added back to the starting side once Spencer Leniu went down hurt. For me, it didn't really change anything because the fact that he was dropped to the bench sort of says, he's lower on the pecking order at this stage. So the minutes were definitely even less guaranteed. It is always a risk with the Roosters, but yeah, he's one that you can give the flick very confidently. Outside of that, we could talk about Sam Walker and Trey Evans. I think that's an important one as well. A lot of people have Sam Walker. I think if you've boarded the Sam Walker Express, it's hard to say. But if I had done the analysis preseason and settled on Sam Walker, I'd be keeping Sam Walker. Are you the same, Turtles?
Basically, if you start with him, you have to stick to it. Like, I started with Dylan Brown. He didn't score well. I'm sticking to my guns with him. Sam Walker, a little bit different just because you weren't 100% sure on how the Daly Cherry Evans and how they're going to meld in their team, but they did lose. So I feel like Roosters do have wins in them. They have one of the best teams on paper. The performance on the field is completely different. So I feel like Sam Walker is going to have those games where Roosters put 50 plus on and Sam Walker is going to score an 80 or 90. And you're going to be thinking, why did I sell him when he was only scoring like 30s or 40s or whatever, when then eventually he averages out as a 60 if he gets a whole bunch of 80s and 90s back to back. He has that potential in him. There's so many attacking weapons on this Roosters pack. If you started with him, I feel like you got to follow through with him. You've already copped the bad scores. You might as well wait for the good ones. Wait for it to balance out.
I agree, man. Like, you've done the analysis preseason. They came out, they got absolutely smashed by the Warriors, and we've seen the Roosters in the past get, pummeled, and then the next week come and put on a massive performance. So they are week to week a very different side. If you've settled on Sam Walker and the Roosters here, you just got to cop the fact that he's going to be a wing fullback like scorer. It's going to be a bit like Reece Walsh, that you're riding that roller coaster. I will just hit this question here too. Saw Wong job security, Nat Butcher a sell, all these questions. Look, this is a pretty early in the round game. It's 8 p.m. on Friday, so try to keep your options a little bit flexible. But if you have Nat Butcher, I'd be open to selling him. I think the fact that they've started Saw Wong here, it communicates a shift, and the fact that they were so weak on defense and the fact that they got beaten in that game so bad, it does justify changes. So in a real footy sense, it makes sense they're making this move. And for your fantasy team, it's bad news. For Saw Wong, the job security is not ideal, but I think he is going to go big in this game. So if you're very brave, you could make that call. It's just got to be, it's a very brave call is all I'm going to say. If he comes out and he kills it in this game and looks good in real life and fantasy, I might look at him next week. But for now, it's just too early for me. And then Gus Crichton, one I've been a bit cool on in the preseason, just in terms of the base stats. I think last week was really bad. Like, it was no tackle breaks, no offloads. I doubt he stays like that going forward. But yeah, for Gus, again, if you've done the analysis, you can stick with him. I would be open to selling him, though, just because of all the edges that we have available to us. So that's kind of my answer on those Chooks players. Now, for the Rabbitohs here, a bunch to talk about with the Bunnies. Campbell Graham, man, what a start in that game, and then sort of fizzled out. But for the Bunnies here, we got Jai Gray at fullback. We're running Johnston. The try-scoring record is in sight. Latrell Mitchell, Jack Whiten, and Campbell Graham in the back line. Cody Walker killed it last week with Jaden Sullivan coming into the halves this week. Forward pack is Totola, Garlic, and Kolomatangi in the front row. Back row is Dave Fafita, Euan Aitken, and Cam Murray. Interchange, we're looking at Mama Zealous, Talis Duncan, Lachlan Hubner, Sean Kepi. And then we have a couple of guys in the extended bench that I don't expect to see come in, but it's funny to see another Latrell pop up there. Now, for the Bunnies, big questions are going to be, people might ask about Jai Gray. Latrell Mitchell is one that I've gotten asked a lot this week. Campbell Graham was a bit of a pod coming in, so was Cody Walker. And then in the forward pack, a Kalamatangi, we can have a chat there. Dave Fafita, Euan Aitken, Cam Murray is one that's been flagged up a bit too. So very relevant team here. I'm going to cover Jai Gray first, then I'm going to throw Latrell to you, Turtles. For Jai Gray, he had a clean, beautiful line break in that game. He scored a try later in the game as well, and still ended up with a pretty middling, a bit below his break-even, around his break-even type of score. So if I was a Jai Gray owner, I'd look at that game and think, yeah, they put 40 points on. He had plenty of attacking plays and still scored pretty rubbish. This is sort of why we called on him late in the preseason, because the role wasn't that good. And we saw in patches of that Dolphins game, the role was good for times, but it was hit and miss. Whereas last year, he was kind of the main man when they were missing all their troops. So for Jai Gray, he's going to have big days. He's going to have attacking days, but he's just not someone I'm targeting aggressively at all. And if I had him in my team, I'd probably stick with him for this game. I probably would stick with him, but I just wouldn't be that excited about it going in. Turtles, I'll throw to you. Latrell Mitchell. People are asking whether they should get him. Talk some sense into us here.
He is very, very expensive. Yeah, obviously we love the dual position with Latrell with center wing fullback. It's a great dual position to have. And then we don't have many good players playing in center at the moment. Like a few players have popped off, but they're not really reliable. Latrell Mitchell, one thing I want to say about this matchup is he's versing Rob Toya. And if we think about Origin last year, it was the same configuration, Latrell Mitchell versus Rob Toya. Rob Toya, first year playing in Origin, he held his ground against Latrell. He stopped him at every single stage that he needed to. So now that he's back, you can kind of expect that. We might have a little bit of doubt with him just because he didn't play last week. He's coming back from injury. So maybe he might get injured and then Latrell runs over whoever fills that spot. That is a easily plausible situation that could happen. This matchup is actually quite insane. Like you have Cody Walker, David Fafita, Latrell Mitchell, Alex Johnson, arguably one of the best attacking left edges on any side, basically. But then you're looking at on the opposition, you have Marky Mark, Toya, Sam Walker, and then probably Sua Wong, I think. And we've already said Sua Wong's very aggressive, so expect him to be able to shut down David Fafita. So that's one matchup, 1-for-1. Toya against Latrell Mitchell, like I said, with Origin, 1-for-1 again. So it's really going to come down to Alex Johnson and Cody Walker versus Sam Walker and Marky Mark. And I feel like this game is going to be more electric than even our game, Broncos versus Eels.
Yeah.
I feel like there's so much in this game. I'm really, really excited for this Friday game. In terms of fantasy, I feel like Latrell Mitchell, he's just too expensive for that center spot. Like he was only like $70K cheaper than Herbie. And it's like, you probably want Herbie. And because we've seen what Herbie can do. Herbie's 100% not going to be playing Origin, even with the new eligibility thing. I think he stayed in England for a little bit too long, so he's not eligible. Mitchell will play Origin. It's basically locked in. If he's fit, he's locked into Origin. He's an Origin player. So I feel like most people dodge Latrell Mitchell. I don't expect him to score 70 plus every week. You got to temper your expectations here, but this matchup will be very interesting. I'm really keen to see it, but I'm hesitant. I'm not going to buy Mitchell. I don't want to spend that much money. Yeah,
too expensive. He's got to play really good footy. Like he scored, a bunch of points there. It's just too dicey. I'm with you there completely. And they got the bye coming up soon as well. It's a bit dodgy. I'll just quickly hit this one as well because we are not above learning. It's Yoelu. Yep. Urelu. Anyway, we'll work on that. Question, Casey McLean for Moses Leo. I think that's a great trade.
Good trade.
Yeah, it's a cracker of a trade. Casey McLean, I think it was like 20 points with a try. Not good. Where's Monty gone? Monty's busy. He's at work. He works at like Fox Sports now, Monty. He's in the big leagues. He does a bunch of like stat stuff and all this other cool stuff. But hey, I've heard from some turtles as an upgrade. Oh, Monty's watching. Now we'll get Monty on. Monty will be on some segments this year too, 100%. Trell with Bunnies, full control, surely. Yeah, look, you can take the bet on Latrell. It's just, here we go. EOLU. EOLU.
It's an expensive bet.
Yeah.
It's an expensive bet. It's not like, yeah, I feel like it's an expensive bet because he's so expensive. One thing I want to say before we move on to the next team. There's
plenty more to talk about with the Bunnies here, man. Like, question coming through here. actually, a few of them asked about thoughts on Aitken. So I want to talk about that rotation in case you haven't seen it already. So Euan Aitken started the game, right? Played about 20 minutes in the edge back row spot. They brought Tallis Duncan on as expected. Tallis Duncan went to the edge and Euan Aitken went to the middle. And it stayed that way most of the game. There were moments where it looked like they shifted, but it was that way. Euan Aitken was playing middle for about 40 minutes. Totaled about 60 minutes in the game, scored a 50 for us, basically purely in base stats. Looked good in defense, was breaking tackles and attack, like passed the eye test in real life. I think he's going to keep that role. Now, the big question I'm getting all week, and I'm sure you're getting it a bit here too, Turtles, is that beneficial? Is that role good for him? It's probably about the same, I would say. Maybe slightly more volatile, but I think his attacking upside is bigger on the edge, but the work rate in the middle is going to be clean. So I think he's going to be very safe for a 40-plus score basically every week, but it does reduce that big attacking upside of sitting on the edge for Euan Aitken. So I think it's a slight downgrade to Euan Aitken. I'll throw you, Turtles. Do you agree with that take on the role?
I feel like if you bought Aitken, you basically wanted to lock in that center position because you're buying him for dual position. You're not buying him for an edge position. We have so many edges. With that center DPP, you're locking in essentially a 50 average in that center spot, whereas all the other centers that we're running, they may have scored really well in the first week. So I was running Chester and Moses Leo, and between them, we're averaging 50. I don't expect that every week out of those centers. If I could loop them, I would happily loop them because they're very unreliable. Whereas if you're got Aitken and you've spent up for that, you're basically have that security. My center is going to score 50 every single week. I don't have to loop him. I don't have to worry about him. It's a plug and play. So if you bought him, stick to it. Like, it's a good spot to be in.
Is he someone you target right now?
Not right now, just because I think like there's so many cheapies. Like earlier in the podcast, we were talking about what strategy should you be doing right now. Should you be chasing points or money? I prefer to chase for money until I get around maybe 13, 14 net value, and then I'll start chasing points. So I'm trying to build my team and the funds, and then I can start switching to either fallen guns or some overpriced players who just keep hitting their break even. So I'm trying to generate as much cash as I can right now. I feel like Aitken has a little bit of value, but not as much as, let's say, a Noel Martin who's got a minus 20 break even.
Yeah, 100%. We're going to come in here too. Turtle sounds more legit when wearing formals. So your school trip outfit didn't work out. Steep, a definite sell for Noah. Sell Steep 100%. He's got to go. Now, that's really the Bunnies. Look, Kolomatangi played 70 minutes. Cam Murray played 70 minutes. I don't think there's value in either of those guys, but I was kind of hoping Cam Murray would get cheaper. But if you got him as a pod, you're pretty happy about the score and the role, but I wouldn't be targeting him for a buy. Dave Fafita, I'm just going to say this pretty straightforwardly. I think he was fine in that game. He copped one of the weakest sin bins, which it just felt like if you were in my fantasy side last week, you copped an absolute BS sin bin. So Fafita well, victim to that. But other than that sin bin, he was tracking for like a 45 to 50 type of score in a game where he didn't score a try. He's going to score plenty of tries through the year. I've got no concerns at all about Dave Fafita. I think you definitely have to sell him. Keep him, sorry. Don't sell him. Well, do not sell him. It's what we mean. It's tough to multitask. Now, Tigers v Cowboys. This one is always a big game. Often some big scorelines here, and the Tigers haven't played yet, so this is super interesting. Dream Bullers at fullback. We have Taruva, May, Makassini, and Lalili in the back line. Jerome Luai, Adam Dewey at halfback there. Forward pack, Terrell May, Coruscant, Pole. And in the back row, we've got Fainu. Pierce Paul makes his debut, and Twal. Interchange, we have Jock Madden, Fainu, Hunt, Seyfarth, and then we have Hope and Skelton extended bench there. Now, for the Tigers, the big questions are going to be, 1, Makassini playing center. Is this good or bad? Should I start him? 2, Adam Dewey. I've seen a few people asking, should I captain him against the Cowboys? They are junk. 3, Jerome Luai. Is he a pod that I should look at? Number 4, Terrell May. Is that a pod we should look at? And really, that's it. I had a few KPP questions earlier in the year, but now we have all these edges, so no one's really approaching KPP anymore. I'm going to run through these with you here, Turtles. Makassini, let's both give our takes on each of these questions. For Makassini at center, I think it's a downgrade to him. I think the fact that he was on that edge outside of Taylor May and Samuel Afainu with Jerome Luai, that was going to be a lethal edge, and he was going to score some easy tries on the wing. He now moves to center on the other side, potentially next to Lalili is what I've heard, but I don't know if they're going to make that swap. that becomes a bit of a tougher situation where he kind of has to carry the edge, and maybe he's outside of Adam Doueihi, who is not known for his passing. So as much as I love the Cowboys matchup, I'm not loving the center role here.
Oof. Yeah, I feel like the role change. I don't know. I'm a little bit biased because I kind of expected the same from Moses Leo moving to the center. So I'm trying to see if it's going to repeat itself with Makasini. I feel like if the play is good enough, they go looking for work. You know, they're going to take their hit ups instead of just relying on the wingers and fullbacks to do it. Like we saw Moses Leo put his hand up multiple times to run that ball and go looking for work. If Makasini has that dog in him, then he's easily big enough and fast enough to make those tackle breaks and line breaks, especially against a Cowboys team who can easily leak points. So it's an interesting watch. And this is what I mean with our centers, right? Like we had Tom Chester, Moses Leo. Now we have Makasini playing as well. You basically have to loop these guys to see which one of these centers get the best. And if you had someone like Aitken, it's a plug and play. You don't have to worry about that. Whereas with all these other cheapie centers, it's a bit dicey, you know what I mean? So I feel like it's probably worse. I feel like it's worse. Usually wingers take a lot more ball runs and they end up scoring the try as well. So moving to center, probably worse. You might get a few extra tackles, but those attacking stats is what we're looking for.
Yeah, his tries were very wingerish as well in the preseason because he put up 2 big scores in the trials, but it's a tough one. People are asking too, is Makasini a risk with Skelton lingering around? I don't think so. Especially the fact that Skelton is a winger traditionally. And Lalili is behind Makasini, I think, in the pecking order as well. Lalili, by the way, is one that you should not target. Very decent player, but not a great fantasy scorer, right? So not someone to target. I think Makasini, though, it's going to be a tough one because, look, people have Tom Chester, and he scored 40-plus in a game where they got pumped last week. Tigers aren't a defensive juggernaut either. You could make the case that his base is going to be better, whereas I think Makasini is going to be a bit boom or bust as a fantasy scorer. The reserve grade numbers are around a 30 average. So, I've got to make that call, and you've got to make that call through the week. But right now, I'm not 100% locked in on starting Makasini. That's the big thing I'm going to flag here. I probably will do it just because of the Cowboys being the opponent. But if it was a tougher opponent, I might go a different way. Now, Adam Doueihi next. The big question here is, should I captain Adam Doueihi? Or Doueihi or Atkinson question here as well. Look, actually, just quickly, I want to answer this one. Lukey over Makasini, 100% in your 17. Lukey played 80 minutes last week and made 50 tackles and scored a try. Like that's everything you want in a back row. But for Doueihi versus anyone really, Doueihi is a 60 average when he plays next to Luai in the halves, and he has a history of being that 50 to 60 average as well. So I think Doueihi's a guy that you can very confidently start round one. You throw in the fact that he's super ball dominant, and the Cowboys allowed a lot of points to a running half in Fletcher Sharp, who scored, I think it was 43 points in 30 minutes, whatever it was there. And then, Kalen Ponga scoring 80 points as well. So I could see Doueihi absolutely killing it in this game, grabbing a bunch of attacking stats, just, breaking heaps of tackles, offloading, all that sort of jazz. So, yeah, Doueihi's got to be in your side. I think that's one of those ones where it's kind of chasing points a little bit, but this matchup is just too tantalizing. You cannot miss a guy who could potentially score 100 points. Now, should I captain him is the second question. He'll be on our captaincy conversation at the end of the week. I won't be doing it. It's very risky. We haven't seen him play. So, there's always the chance the roles change. There's always the chance the Cowboys come and blow out the Tigers, which they have done in the past. Like, there's a few things that could happen here that could really mess this up. So I personally wouldn't captain Doueihi, but I can see the appeal. Turtles, on a scale of 1 to 10, how hot are you on the Doueihi captaincy?
Probably a 7.
Wow.
It's higher than you probably expect, but we have so many good captain options, but a lot of them flopped last week. Unless you captain Hines or Ponga, which was very, very pottish to do. Most people captain either Cleary or Haas, and both of them went sub 60. So some people might be a little bit hurt about that and might look at this matchup. I'm pretty sure they're playing at home, the Tigers as well.
Leichhardt Oval, yeah.
Leichhardt Oval versus the Cowboys, where like you said earlier, usually it's a very high-scoring game. I'm not sure if he gets goal kicking over Coruscant. I feel like he was goal kicking towards the end of last year as well. So I don't know if that follows on to this year. But Doueihi, he's kind of a sticky hands player. So he loves to run the ball. He likes to break those tackles and get these offloads. I feel like he will score 60 plus. It's just, I don't know, Cleary and Haas both can easily score 100. I feel like their road to 100 is easier than Dewey's road to 100. So that's why they're probably a more likely captain choice.
Yeah, Dewey, I reckon he'll definitely be the goal kicker, by the way,
Okay.
100%. But yeah, it's a brave call. It's a brave call. If I would love a few people to take a swing at it and send me screenshots when you do it. Once the games are locked out, I don't care if you do it today. Do it on Friday, and send me screenshots because that'd be classic. I saw a few Scott Drinkwater captains last week, so it might be a bit of that. Also, Scott Drinkwater, we'll talk about him in a sec. Now, rolling through the forward pack here, Terrell May. If people are asking about him, look, I'll lay out all the information we have about Terrell May right now. So in the negatives column, we have talk that he'll play 60 minutes instead of 72 this year. So that's a drop of about 20%. Talk that he's carrying a bit of a back issue into the season. I don't think that's substantial, but it's just a bit of chat that's going around. And the fact that he was just generationally defensively hardworking last year. On the pros side of things, though, you look at this bench. It's like, Jock Madden, Sione Fainu, not a big minute guy. Royce Hunt, like a 15-minute guy. Seyfarth, maybe he spells out Stoire, the lock spot. So you don't have a lot of minutes coming off the bench there. So there is a good chance that Terrell May does play still big minutes here. And if he plays less minutes, there's a potential that the attacking game of Terrell May comes out to play again. And we see Coruscant and Terrell May actually starting to combine. Because for me, I loved Terrell May last year, but he really disappointed when it came to attacking productivity in the red zone. Like, I thought that Coruscant May connection was going to yield more tries. So I think this year that is going to happen. So that's the bet you're making on Terrell May, basically, that he's going to be more potent in attack with less minutes on the field. It's a case that isn't backed by stats in most cases. So it's a real speculator call, and it's sort of a retro justification I'm trying to fit onto it. So personally, I'm not jumping on Terrell May, but if you did want to do it, if you did have Terrell May, if I had Terrell May, I'd probably captain him to double down on the pod, right? But I don't have Terrell May, and I'm not looking to buy him, is kind of my answer there. Other than that, Tigers pretty light here. So unless you have any more notes there on Terrell May, Turtles, we can jump across to the Cowboys.
With Terrell May, basically, if you had a whole bunch of cash because you got really lucky, you bought all the really good cheapies last week already, and you needed to loop them in, and you ended up buying Terrell May, he is probably the best pod captain you can pick this week. I'll prefer Terrell May over Dewey.
Spicy pod captain at the Tigers. Now, Cowboys side of things. So Cowboys fresh off a loss to the Knights, but they had 2 weeks to think about it. They'll come back better in this game. So we've got Drinkwater at fullback. We're looking at Burns, Purdue, Chester keeps his spot, and Murray Talangi, Clifford and Dearden in the halves. Forward pack is Hess, Marnie. We've got Taumalolo, Lukey, McIntyre, Cotter in the back row. Interchange Luke, O'Donnell, Neem, Lodge, and then Sutton and King on the bench there. For the Cowboys, the big question from a lot of people is, do I keep Scott Drinkwater? Now, Drinkwater has a good run of fixtures coming up to start, but that rib issue is one that's not going to go away quickly. So he came off in that last game, had to have injections for pain, came back on, didn't look comfortable at all. I don't think that's going to go away. So personally, if I had Drinkwater, I'd sell him. I just think that kind of issue, it's one that's going to pop up again. You're going to be watching with your heart in your mouth the whole week. Like, just get rid of the problem. Give him the flick. And learn the lesson. Never pay full price for Scott Drinkwater. That's what he sort of showed there. So that one's a pretty easy sell. I'll throw to you here on Turtles on Tom Chester. What do you think of that performance last week? And do you think he keeps the spot when Laybutt is available?
I feel like it depends on how the Cowboys go. If the Cowboys lose, let's say, the first 3 games and then Laybutt comes back, maybe it's not just looking at the center position. Maybe they might look into the halves and say, you know what, maybe we're better with Purdue in the halves. He's training there all off-season as well. Let's get rid of Clifford, move Laybutt back into the center. Because what we saw from Tom Chester, especially from a fantasy point as well, he got all his points through basically base stats. He put his hand up to run the ball. Like I said, usually your wingers and fullback do that. Last week we saw Moses do it, Moses Leo, and we also saw Chester do it. He also got his normal tackles, which is kind of good. He's got a great tackling technique. However, more often than not, he's the first one there, and he kind of does like a Reed Marnie where he kind of puts a shot on someone and then falls off. So the first half, you saw him kind of just lose a whole bunch of points because of missed tackles. But in the second half, what I really liked seeing was he literally just kept running from the other side of the field, put his hand up, ran the ball, got these tackle breaks, and looked to put in that work when no one else was doing because they were getting thrashed, right? So I liked what I saw from him. The stats were decent. You're paying $250K originally for a guy who scored you 45. You're very happy with that. All these cheapies come with some sort of job security issue. I feel like Noel Martin basically was the only one who got confirmed. Yes, he's going to be playing because Matty Nicholson's out. Lasardi, you have Blore as an issue. Chester, you have Labour as an issue. There's always some sort of job security issue. If you started with Chester, ride the wave with it. I wouldn't go out and buy him. Is what I'd say.
Yeah, I reckon he's at risk. Because they got beat up in that game by the Knights, and as much as it wasn't all Chester's fault, Murray Talangi's very established. Jackson Purdue's very established. Braden Burns, he's dealing with suspension. I don't think Chester goes to the wing though. I'm surprised Burden's his name, by the way. I think he was out for 2 weeks, but maybe they're going to fight that. Who knows what's going on? So Tom Chester, yeah, I agree with you. Don't target him, but if you have him in your team, he is a comfortable starter, and you could start him in this matchup. It's not a bad matchup at all. We'll have a look in later in the week. We'll look at the specific matchup. I'm trying to think. I think he'd be up against Taylor May on that tougher edge. So not a great matchup compared to the other side, but still someone you could start. Dearden was solid, did basically no kicking, so he's not someone I'm chasing. A lot of people in the comments asking about Reed Marnie. Do you target Reed Marnie? Is Reed getting 80 minutes? There's a lot of variants of that question coming through. I think he's going to get the 80 minutes. I don't think he was a problem last week. Scored 54 points. He was priced under 500K. He was great. If people are asking, should they buy him? Yeah, for sure. He's definitely a target. He's a guy that's going to get over 600K at some point. He's rock solid in that role. And he was good in that game too. So did a bit of kicking. He did a bunch of stuff. He wasn't the problem for the Cowboys in that game. So Reed Marnie's definitely a solid target. Halem Lukey, you mentioned this before, Turtles. He's a great target. 80 minutes. Attack is there. Defense is there. It's all good. If you started with Ruben Cotter, he scored terribly in that game. I'm shocked by it. I didn't start with him, but I just thought he was going to come out this year and average like 50. So that one is a shocker. If you have him, I'd happily sell him. That was just too frustrating. And he just doesn't have the upside to score in offloads and in tackle breaks and those more open games. So for the Cowboys, really, to sum it up, it's probably sell Scott Drinkwater, keep Tom Chester, buy Reed Marnie, and buy Halem Lukey if you don't have those guys already. Otherwise, pretty straightforward. Now, Dragons, this is a fun one. Okay, so everyone's question is going to be, where's Ryan Couchman? What's his role going to be this week? And I'm going to say, well, I just called the coach and all right, so let's go to this team. Gutho at fullback. We have Tuipulotu, Sully, Holmes, Setutu in the back line, Flanagan and Atkinson in the halves. Forward pack is Gula, Cook, Couchman in the front row, Leilua, Sewer, Hamish Stewart in the back row. Interchanges Sele, Kerr, Laurie, Couchman. We have King Tongia and Farley. Extended reserves, Halangahu, Finai, and Sloan. There was a lot of talk earlier in the week about the fact that Little was going to be back this week, 100%. There's so much mail floating around. I refuse to reshare it anymore. There's just so many lies being made up by like random Instagram pages and journalists at the moment. It's actually such a problem. But yeah, all that was a lie. So it's still the 4-forward bench here. You got Hame Sele potentially swapping with Stewart, Kerr, Laurie, Couchman. Laurie played very few minutes. Gula played very few minutes. What we saw from Ryan Couchman was 60 minutes off the bench. Now, we've seen nothing that indicates that's going to change. He was good in that 60 minutes. They competed with the Dogs. It was a low-scoring game. They were very good in defense. All of those things indicate that Ryan Couchman did his job, right? They got some very unlucky calls on the referee side of things, and this isn't the podcast to go into it in too much depth, but I think the Dragons would leave that game thinking, yeah, we were good. That was fine. We'll keep rolling with this plan. So for Ryan Couchman, he's a guy that you definitely go and target if you don't have him. I don't have Ryan Couchman. So for me, I planned for this. I have 50K in the bank. I'm moving Cooper Buy to Ryan Couchman, as is Wah here. He's doing Buy and Cobbo to Couchman and Leo. Ryan Couchman to bag 70 plus from Warriors. Yeah. So everyone's hyped on Couchman. What I will say is just try to temper expectations a little bit, just because he's not going to play 60 every week as a middle forward off the bench. That's a pretty ideal scenario. It might drop down to 40 or 50, but he's still going to be a great scorer off the bench. Turtles, let's throw to you here to talk more on the Atkinson side of things, because he's one that people are considering right now.
So Atkinson's interesting. So he got 800 plus kick meters last week, which is about 28 points, which is huge, right? I think he got the most kick meters out of any half in the game last week. So that's what very attractive. Dragons play a very simple style of footy. It's complete your sets, get to your kick, and then because they're not getting too many meters, his kicks are quite long, which we kind of saw last week as well. I kind of expect the same to happen this week. With Atkinson, my biggest worry is, it's not really a worry, but it's a concern, right? So, like, what is Kyle Flanagan doing in this team, essentially? Like, what is his purpose if he's not kicking? He's not running the ball as much. He's not a normal running half six. He's basically meant to be doing what Atkinson's doing, but the coaches clearly told Atkinson, no, you have the game manager role. You do all the kicking. So it's like, what is Flanagan doing here? I like that. Was it liking King Tongia's on the extended bench? Because I feel like they might swap it up, because last week we kind of want that as well, because last week we saw Setutu come off and then Fengai came on, which eliminates the idea of the 4-forward bench. There's too much minutes to go around, but Emre Gula doesn't play a lot of minutes. Jaime Sele doesn't play a lot of minutes. If they do use a 4-forward bench and use Laurie as well, that is going to be a concern for either Hamish Stewart or Ryan Couchman or both. What we do want to see is them not use Blake Laurie and either use Fengai for some sort of outside back who got injured, or what I would like to see is LKT come on for Flanagan, because Flanagan, there's no point to Flanagan in this team. It just doesn't make sense to me. And like, surely the coach can identify that, and maybe he's got a little bit biased because he's his son. But back to Atkinson, if he keeps the role that he's on, I think because everyone's trying to focus on trying to buy all these really cheap edges or center wing fullbacks, whatever, he might go under the radar here. And if you started with him, congrats to you, because you probably started him over Dylan Brown. So easy points there, basically. I feel like Atkinson's locked in for a 50+ every week.
Yeah, a lot of people I mean, Flanagan's a divisive player for some reason. He gets everyone really fired up. But yeah, I agree. I think the role is strange. It's a strange role. And if they lose this game and they struggle to score points again, you got to ask the question, like, why do we have a passenger who's a good defender, admittedly? Like, he's solid on defense, but why do we have him in the team if he's not going to create much on attack or kick much? I mean, he's shown that he's capable of doing those things as well. So it's super, super bizarre. On the Atco front, I think Atkinson's a good one to target, though. He's got some good matchups coming up. So yeah, and then for the rest of the Dragons team, I'm getting questions about Toby Couchman, Luciano Leilua, these types of guys, and Setu too as well. So Setu is one that you could start in this game. The Dragons have a bit of a history of upsetting the Storm and, putting on a good performance against the Storm. He was looking all right last week. Obviously got bailed out with that try, went off with cramps as well. But I think Setu is one that's reasonable to start if you want to this week. He's right there in that conversation with Matt Cassini and Chester. Probably a touch behind them for me. But if you're tipping the Dragons in this game at home, he's one that you could definitely start. Toby Couchman got those extra minutes in Golden Point, only a 56, I believe it was. So bit of a disappointing score there, but the fact that they will have Little back soon, they'll go back to that 3-forward bench. His PPM was pretty good in this game. I wouldn't panic if you started with Toby Couchman. I think you stick with him as well. Luciano Leilua is one that you could move off. Not that he was particularly bad last week, but it's just that we have so many edge back rowers that you can free up some cash there pretty easily. And then Hamish Stewart, I'll invite your thoughts here, Turtles. Do you think he's one that people should hold or give the flick or target as a buy?
If you're thinking like I am, and I feel like Blake Laurie's basically not going to play, so it was kind of forced because of the Setu cramping, which is kind of weird because whenever you see cramping, all they do is bring it on the trainer, stretch it out, pickle juice, It's kind of weird that they use their last utility on Setu. So with Hamish Stewart, a 3-forward bench is kind of more what you want. Luciano Leilua doesn't play big minutes. A lot of these forwards aren't playing big minutes. Like Emre Gulasele, I mentioned this previously when I was talking about Laurie and Flanagan as well. So I feel like it is a favorable bench. I feel like they're trying to, be sneaky about it. I feel like Stewart, he's still going to get you between that 40 to 50 range. And at that price point, he's good enough to keep. I feel like you've probably got bigger fires elsewhere. I wouldn't be rushing to change Stewart for Ryan Couchman. Basically, I won't burn a trade to do that. Yeah,
I'm with you there. I think keep him if you have him. Don't target him as a buy. A few things flagged. A few Dragons fans have popped in too. Look at the stats beside Hunt, Ilias. Flanagan was this passenger next to those guys as well. So maybe it's a particular game plan they have to only run one half and to burn out the half they have and eventually to see them leave and win a comp at Brisbane. It could be a strategy. You never know. But yeah, okay, so it might continue. So basically to summarize here, Setu, if you don't have him, he's a great target to get. Atkinson is one that don't rip your team apart for him, but he's a solid target. I'd probably still project like a 45, maybe high 40s average for him. I wouldn't say the 58 is normal. And then, Damien Cook, don't overreact to that. That was a great game last week. He's not going to play 80 minutes when Little comes back very soon, so don't buy him. Toby Couchman, hold. Luciano, you can sell if it suits your team. Hamish Stewart, I'd say generally hold. And Ryan Couchman is one that you'd be silly not to buy at this stage. Now we'll jump to the Storm. And this is there's been a bit of a storm on the cheapie front here with Melbourne. So we'll go through this team and then we'll talk about all these guys. But Suafea-Longo's at fullback there. Warbrick, Howarth, Leo, and Meaney in the back line. Cam Munster, Jerome Hughes in the halves. Forward pack is Toakamanu, Grant, and King in the front row. We've got Joe Chan, Arthur Lasati, and Tui Kamitha on the back row there. And then we go to Wishart, Clark, Hetherington, Moale. And we've got, a few irrelevant guys on the extended bench. So for the Storm, it was an interesting game last week. It's very hard to read into a game where they just absolutely pounded Parramatta, who didn't really turn up to play. So I'm going to caveat everything we talk about here with that lens, that it's very tough to read into. We'll talk about Suafea-Longo first, because I was DM'd and tagged about Suafea-Longo in that first half at least 1,000 times, like in Discord, and like everyone, just people popping off, like, how can you tell me to buy Suafea-Longo? And then the second half, he came good and put up 55 points. And that's going to be the Suafea-Longo experience, right? So, we talked about it preseason, but it's a different thing to experience it firsthand. He is going to be boom or bust. He's going to have those halves where he scores you 5 points, where he scores -2 or whatever it is. But he's also going to have those big halves where he scores a bunch of points as well. So attacking roller coaster. If you have him in your team, stick with him. If you don't have him, I wouldn't be rushing out to go buy him personally. I don't think he's a must-have to go target. But if you have him in your team, comfortably stick with him as long as he stays fit. Now, the cheapies here, and I'm going to throw to you, Turtles, to give me I want you to pick one of these guys to talk about as the one that you think is the best option for people to target. So it's either Moses Leo, Joe Chan, or Lasati in the back row.
I'm actually going to go Moses Leo because I picked him up. A lot of people didn't. So a lot of people have Lasati already or something like that. So I'm going to talk and preach to my boy Moses Leo. So if we're looking at the first half with Storm, where they haven't completely blown the Eels out. Yeah, I think they were up by like maybe 3 tries or something. It's still comebackable at that stage, right? But Fulongo was on 5 points at halftime. Moses Leo was on 28. And I don't believe he scored a try yet. So that was for a line break, his tackle breaks, and effort. Like I said earlier, a lot of centers, they kind of sit around, especially if you look at Meaney. When Meaney plays center, he doesn't put his hand up to run the ball. This is what I mean by in the center role, a lot of guys, they're just fillers, okay? But when they're in the wing spot, they put their hand up. Meaney wasn't putting his hand up as much. So Moses realized that. He's a rugby sevens convert. He's happy to do the work. When you play sevens, you have to be relatively fit because you've got a lot more ground to cover and there's a lot more space that you have to run around. Moses Leo has done this before. So I like the fitness from him. I like his base. If he scores 25 with only a couple attacking stats in the first half, I feel like he's easy plug and play. Like, I'm more confident playing Leo than I am with Chester, even though I think Chester has a bigger base. I think Moses Leo has a decent enough base and has that attacking upside, and he's in a good team. So Moses Leo, a bit of a pod. I feel like he's going to go under the radar this week because everyone's going to be flocking to Ryan Couchman, basically all the cheap edges that we've mentioned before. So I'm not going to keep listing them. So he's going to go on the radar. I'm pretty happy about that. I have him, and I like him.
Yeah, I don't mind this. I mean, I just saw a comment too. Leo, 14 points this week. Nice base for wing fullback. There's a lot of different questions going around. I think that, look, all three have problems, right, in terms of fantasy production. So, real life pedigree, fantasy pedigree, and opportunity, right? Like, all three played good footy last week. So real life pedigree is looking good. Fantasy pedigree for Chan and Leo is really bad, right? History is really bad. Lasati's not too bad. But, yeah, I think Leo has the potential there, right? So he's, like you said, he's rugby sevens convert. You could spin the story that he is someone who, he's just come through and it took some time to adjust to the NRL, and he's now adjusted and he's shining, right? I can see that story. Like we've seen that with, guys like Isaiah Katoa, for example, was a 30 average his first year. Guys can develop as they get more acquainted with the game. So, yeah, I can see the Leo story. I'll tell the Lasardi story then, because for Lasardi, it's a hard one. It's a hard one because, as you mentioned, Blore is in jersey 21. So he's right down there. He's watching. He's waiting. He's wondering just why. But for Blore, Blore wasn't that great last year, but he was a very established starter. So you'd think he probably comes in. Joe Chan was unbelievable in real life, whereas Lasardi was good, but not in the eye-popping way that Joe Chan was. And all the talk preseason has been that Joe Chan's going to win that spot and Lasardi is the one that's going to go back to the bench. Now, there's potential that Lasardi gets into the forward rotation, but Loiero comes back next week, so it's an Tokamanu, King, Loiero middle three, which is also bad news. So I think buying Lasardi is just too dangerous. Like you've got a guy where I think you've just kind of missed out. He's not Martin, he's not Couchman, who we're 100% going for. He's Lasardi, and it could all fall apart this week or next week. And they play pretty late on Saturday too, so you'd be kind of stuffed if you buy him for someone who's already played. Like, I think you just let Lasardi go if you don't have him. If you do have him, enjoy the cash, ride the wave. But I personally don't have him because unless they won, 50-0 again, like I just don't think his job security is there. And he's definitely not guaranteed 80 minutes either, because he did sub off in that game and then got subbed back on like 20 seconds later because there was, an issue and he had to jump back on. So, yeah, I think Lasardi's one that you can kind of pretty safely avoid, but he is going to score well this week is the problem, right? So it's going to burn. I just don't think he chased the points there. And then Joe Chan, this is such a hard one, man. Like, I look at the numbers. He had a couple of line breaks in that game. He had a lot of attacking stats. He had like nearly 200 meters run. I think Joe Chan has some 30-point games in him. Like I think they're right there. They're waiting for us. He's a bit more expensive, so I think he's about $350K. So he's not that cheap either. Like he started at $311. I'm kind of on I'm on the train of avoiding Lasardi and Chan if you don't have them. Leo being the one where if it suits your team and you need the depth in the back line, he's the one you target. Other than that, I'm avoiding the other two.
Yeah, with Joe Chan, we have a decent amount of data about him, and he's underperformed. He's always in that like low 30s, even in the 20s sometimes, after playing 70, 80 minutes as well, which is very, very shocking. You could argue that he has taken that leap forward and he's trying to win that spot because Eli Katoa's moved out, and it's like, okay, well, we definitely need that spot filled. Let me work on my performance and get in the good books with Craig Bellamy. So it's interesting to see, like, if Joe Chan comes out and he scores another 70, then I'll start thinking about it. But right now, especially with Blore on the bench, we don't 100% know what's going to happen. Like Blore could come back and Lasardi could win the spot. We don't know that. Like, we're just hearing rumors at the stage. So it's more of a wait and see with these guys, just because, the forward pack's going to change in the next week or two because Loiero's back, Blore's coming back. Everything's going to change. It's a bit of a wait and watch. If you missed out, you missed out. You got to just bite that on the chin.
Yeah, and this guy's Josh Schuster, #1 fan, so not great taste. But he's got Joe Chan and Leo, 38 points combined. So, yeah, I mean, they could do that. They absolutely could do that. Yeah, I'm probably not going to buy any of these guys if I'm being transparent with you. I just think it all kind of feels like chasing, but Leo's dual position and job security is really the argument you can make if you think the Storm are going to be red hot this year. So for the rest of the team, Harry Grant, he's been named. He went off about 60 minutes into the game, scored a double. God, they were a couple of pathetic tries from Parramatta. Like, just absolutely disgusting. I'm so pissed off at Parramatta. I don't know why I hung these Para jerseys behind me, actually, but it was so feeble. It was so feeble. Grant looking to run, though. So it's good news if you're a Grant owner. He was tracking for 80+ in that game. I think Brayley wins the early points for me, though, just because like Grant did score better and he was tracking for a better score. But I think Brayley, in a game that didn't really play into his strengths, still scored that 60. That's where I sort of thought, oh, yeah, that's a bit more. I don't know. I think Brayley's scoring is a bit more resilient than Grant's. So I think between those two, I'm going to go advantage Brayley, which is a bit controversial because Grant's scoring, he scored a double, only had that 60. It was in 60 minutes, but it wasn't the best PPM. Cam Munster went big in that game. So if you want a pod, You don't need another half, but he's right there. Jerome Hughes, quiet. We'll see how his price drops down. Other than that, for the Storm, that's pretty much it. So we are mostly just kind of avoiding chasing points there on the Storm players because, yeah, they've already gone up in price a bit. Now, Panthers v Sharks, this one's pretty easy here because there's not too much new stuff to talk about. So Edwards, Jenkins, Alamotti, McLean, To'o in the back line for the Panthers, Blaze and Cleary in the halves. Forward pack, Leota, Kenny, Smith in the front row, Papali'i, Garner, and Yo in the back row. Interchange is Cogger, Billy Phillips, Sorensen going, and then we got Tungo still on the bench with Lussick. Now, with Tungo out of the team, pretty much, he seems to be dropped. That means that Jenkins is the guy, and Jenkins had a cracker of a game last week, so I doubt he loses that spot because nothing against Tungo, but I haven't seen Tungo impact a game the way Jenkins did last week in a couple of years now. And I think Tungo can get back to it at some point in the future, but just this last couple of years, it's sort of been a bit of a drop for him. So, yeah, hoping he might even need to move clubs or something like that. Like that might be the situation. But if we look at this Panthers back line, there was a mixed bag, right? So the story is Dylan Edwards had a big game, grabbed a try, did his usual stuff. We saw Jenkins have a big game. We saw Alamotti, Casey McLean, Brian To'o all have really quiet games. Alamotti and To'o in particular, I think it was like 23 and 25 points. Cleary had a lightning first half and then sort of fell off in the second half. Like we saw a bit of an inconsistent performance in terms of fantasy. So really, I'm going to chalk a bunch of these up. Like everyone except for Cleary, I'm going to chalk it up to attacking stats are unreliable. They're outside backs. that's just going to happen. That's part of the game, right? And if you bought To'o or you bought Alamotti or these types of guys, I would stick with them. But in the preseason, we had this debate a bit, and I said I don't love the matchups for To'o to start the year, and that was kind of an example of that, even though they did win convincingly. Now, Turtles, I'll throw to you here on Nathan Cleary. 57 points for him. Really quiet second half. What are your thoughts on that performance?
It's kind of weird because, like you said, he did really great in the first half and then kind of just fell off. And that's kind of going down the path of Nico Hines last year. This like one monster half and then one really poor performing half. It's not really Cleary-esque. Usually we do expect him to replicate that throughout the game, and he accumulates points in basically every single field. He gets his tackles, not too many missed tackles, not too many penalties, but he also goal kicks, try assists, all the good stuff, right? Usually with Talagi on as his other half, he gets a lot of the kick meters as well, but we also need the game to be a little bit more back and forth for him to accumulate a lot more kick meters, which maybe I feel like we're going to see a little bit more competitiveness out of the Sharks than we did the Broncos, because similar to your Parramatta, Broncos' performance was very shocking, very pathetic, actually. So hopefully Sharks put up more of a fight. We can expect a Nathan Cleary uptick if it's more back and forth. I feel like if it's more competitive, Nathan Cleary ends up scoring a lot more. Okay. One of the other people I want to talk about, because I have him as well, is Isaiah Yeo. I bought Isaiah Yeo expecting that 80 minutes, and he was tracking for like a 65, 70. As soon as he went off, I was like, what is going on here? Like he's an 80-minute player. I expect him to accumulate his stats throughout the game, and he was going great. He was getting turnover tackles. He even got an offload, which is a little bit unusual for Isaiah Yeo. So he was tracking for a big score. I really did not like seeing him get under 80 minutes. So if this happens for another 2 weeks, I don't know if I'll consider selling him, but if he doesn't have that 80-minute lock roll, which is what I expected, then I definitely have to think about it. Obviously not trading it this week because, we're just buying cheapies, but it's a little bit dicey here. It's a little bit dicey.
Yeah, that's a question that's coming up a lot. So Zed mentioned it. Do we worry? I think it was about a 15-minute rest in that game. As a non-Yo owner, I was chuffed, by the way. I was absolutely stoked. I saw him, come off, and I was like, yep, great. He's not injured. It's just a rest. That's when you can really cheer for it. And we do have some crazy questions going through, though. Ahmed's asked, would you trade Yo for Noah Martin? That's a wild no. You stick with Yo. You stick with Yo because he's still probably going to score about a 60 in this game. Look, it's round one as well. So guys do sometimes get less minutes in round one and warm into it. Not Cam Murray, of course, who played 70, but yeah. Maybe that's just a warm into the season that's sort of happening there. And then we're getting questions about, here we go. So good day from Tonga. Good to see international audience. We love it. I wish we were recording in Tonga on the beach. That'd be nice. Should I go Couchman or Dewey? I think they're both good ones to get, right? But
I'll go Dewey.
If you had to buy Martin, Couchman, Dewey, and you only had two trades, which two would you get?
Martin and Dewey.
I agree with that. I think the upside is just so enormous on those two guys this week. But you could also make the case Couchman will make more cash, right? So that's the play there. We'll keep rolling here with the Panthers, though, because stick with McLean. A lot of people are asking about McLean. He's probably the one of those backline guys that I'd really be pretty happy to sell. Just because his numbers are very, very try-reliant. He's had a lot of games where he's scored a double and scored your 40 points kind of thing. So I just reckon he's just not a great fantasy producer. And that game last week proved it's going to kind of be more of the same there. Just doesn't really go looking for that work, but he's super effective as an attacking player. So good player in real life, not great for fantasy. Isaiah Papali'i, people are getting mad about that. That's super funny. Look, he didn't play 80 minutes last week. So he played 67. I'm not too mad about it. I'm a big Papali'i fan, but Liam Martin's going to come back. It's going to mess things up. He might keep the spot. He might not. I think it's too risky to answer your question, Bradley. Cleary, well, because that's really the last thing we want to talk about. Cleary captaincy. Is he in your considerations this week, Turtles?
I don't know if people still believe in the Thursday night curse because Broncos are playing Thursday night and Payne Haas out of the big three, let's say Terrell May, Cleary, and Payne Haas are the big three, then if you take Payne Haas out because of the Thursday curse, I'm not saying that I'm superstitious, then it's really between Cleary and Terrell May. Most people don't have Terrell May. If you have Terrell May, I'll pick Terrell May. Just saying that. If you already have him and you don't have to spend a trade to buy him, I would happily pod captain Terrell May this week. Nathan Cleary against the Sharks. I feel like Sharks are going to put up a fight here. I don't think they're going to be kept to nil like the Broncos were, which was very bad. Just want to reiterate that. So if it's a more competitive game, I expect Yo to get his normal 80. I expect Cleary to get more kick meters. You're going to see a lot more back and forth, right? Like Sharks are going to complete more sets than the Broncos are because the Broncos barely had any ball, and whenever we did, we made an error. Like I think Ricky dropped the ball 4 times. So don't expect that to happen out of the Sharks team. They'll still make errors, but not as much. So a little bit more back and forth. Nathan Cleary, what are we guessing? 70 plus?
I think he goes big. I think this is a really good game of footy. I think these two teams are coming in some really good form. It's one game, but it's great form. Nico Hines is looking good. Trindle was so dominant last week, though. So I think this is going to be a really good battle. I would say that Cleary has a big game here, and he's my early favorite for captaincy, just because I think the potential for Parramatta to get blown out and Haas to get less minutes on top of the fact that he's also not scoring a great PPM is not great. Whereas for the Sharks, we love the Sharks, but they're not a defensive juggernaut whatsoever, right? You look at their edges in particular. You've got, Nakora and Billy Burns are both very good attacking players, can be a bit loose in defense. Iro is a solid defender, but a guy like Ramian, he has a few mistakes in his game defensively as well. Stone Street's in for Mulatalo, so they're a bit less experienced there. They got no Cam McInnes, who really cleans things up. I reckon there's opportunities for Cleary here. So he's most likely my captain this week, is where I'm sitting. We're getting a few questions here. International. I reckon everyone's going to start making up countries, by the way, now that I'm highlighting it. So, g'day from India. Alamotti is a pod. If you have Alamotti, I'd stick with him. I'd stick with him 100% because you've sort of made that call. And there is a baseline foundation to why you jumped on. Now we'll jump to the Sharks here, and everyone's asking about the Hines pod. Nico Hines dropping 100. Is Nico a must-have? There's a lot of questions. So Sharky's team list is very similar to last week. I don't even have to read it out because it's basically the same as last week. In fact, I think it's exactly the same as last week. Yeah, they might have reshuffled a few of the guys on the bottom of the bench, but this is the same Sharks team. I'm not reading Sharks teams anymore. They never change anything ever. So except for Hines' kick meters, they change that because it just keeps going down. But for Nico Hines, is he a must-have? My answer is no. And we were high, Turtles. We were high on the Hines train in the preseason because of that Titans matchup round 1 and because of the form in the preseason. You can't go chase those points now, though. It's too late. It's a Panthers matchup that I think is going to be a good game, but it could also be a 26-0 lockdown, as we saw the Panthers do last week. So, yeah, I wouldn't be chasing Nico Hines. Even when this game was close on the weekend, when they were playing the Titans, it was Trindle in the opening exchanges that was the really dominant half. Hines sort of came alive once the game was kind of out of reach, which, not to be cynical, but it doesn't bode that well as a guy that you're going to chase there. So I'm going to say no to Nico Hines. The kick meter share is too low. The attacking stat reliant is too high. he's now a bit pricier as well. It's not one I would chase. I'm assuming you're sort of thinking the same thing.
You have to temper your expectation with Hines because the Panthers are not the Titans. You're literally going from the bottom 2 defense to the top 2 defenses squads in the comp. Hines, without the kicking, if he's only relying on his attacking stats, he scored 2 tries on the weekend. You get added all the goal kicking because they put 50 on the Titans as well, and or just the running game. He's not going to be scoring 80 again this week. I expect sub 50 actually.
Yeah, yep. I don't mind that call. I think sort of 45 to 55 is where I'd probably have him.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's going to have some plays, but yeah. In terms of the rest of the Sharks team, I mean, look, Ramian was a fun pod. Again, that was one that we talked about. Credit to Jay-Z who really championed that one. Ramian was great because of the matchup last week. It's kind of what I'm going to say about all these attacking players. He was great for that. I wouldn't chase the points. He's much more expensive now. No go. Kale Hero, he's getting cheaper. He's on my watch list going forward. That 34 last week nudged his price in the wrong direction. Adam Fanua-Blake, like low 50s in terms of minutes, hard to read into because they put up a big score. So again, he's one that I always have an eye on. Blake Brayley, I like the performance. I think it was about 80 meters run in that game. Had the try assist, 45 tackles. Very solid workman-like performance there for a low 60s score. And Nakora scored a try, and I think he grabbed like 30 points. Like, it was a really, really low score from Nakora. Colquhoun, just a quiet 40 points from him. If you have Colquhoun, you can stick with him. I've seen some people thinking about trading him only if you've perfected your team, right? Let's say your team is perfect and you just don't have Noah Martin. I could see the appeal of it, but, try to find someone else to sell. So Sharks, pretty straightforward there. They're an easy one. Now into Sunday. And is this going to be, so we've got 2 Sunday games, then we'll answer a few questions at the end. So for Sunday, 4 p.m., late games. I love the 2 p.m. game. I want that 2 p.m. game. So Tommy Turbo at fullback. We have Saab, Kohler, Garrick, Hopewadi. Looking at Luke Brooks and Jamal Fogarty in the halves. Forward pack, Paseka, Simpkins, Hetherington. Then we go to Olakau'atu, Turbo and Turbo. Interchange, Walsh, Brown, Bullimore, and Paul Bryan. Extended is Wakeham and Feldy. So, yeah, I mean, really the only questions here are, how long do we wait till we buy Ruben Garrick for 400K? Tommy Turbo, is he back? Jake Simpkins, should I target him? That's really it, right? There's not too much else to ask. I'll throw it to you, Turtles. Tommy Turbo, does the 6 again rule and the form in that game change your mind on him, or is he just too expensive?
Starting the year, because I think he was around 600K, and Kalen Ponga was quite similar as well. Kalen Ponga against Tommy Turbo, both of them like to get involved. Both get a lot of tackle breaks. The only difference was Kalen Ponga also goal kicks. So I feel like the Eagles should be a better team than the Knights, but we'll see what happens basically with this season. Tommy Turbo, he looked good. He looked good on the field, and unfortunately he's already overpriced now. He's overpriced to start the season. He's overpriced now because he scored pretty well. There's always a stage where he gets injured, scores really low, comes back, scores a whole bunch of low ones. Similar to Drinkwater, we can get him cheaper. I'm not jumping on him right now. He's not a priority.
Yep. Fair shout. I agree with that. The price point's a bit tough to chase there. Other than that, Simpkin, look, they got the buy soon as well, Manly. So I just think there's better value than these Manly players. If you're on Olakau'atu, you probably like that performance round 1, but yeah, otherwise, no go. And then for the Knights here, Ponga in fullback here. We got Young, Gagai, Best, Marzu in the back line, Sandon Smith, Dylan Brown in the halves. Forward pack is Safidi, Crossland, Mooney, Lucas, McEwen, and Frizzell. Interchange, we've got Cant, Croker, Solo. And then, so does Harrison Graham. But yeah, I mean, with the Knights, I'm just sort of looking at this bench, sort of thinking about McEwen and Mooney in particular, and Crossland. So Crossland played 80 minutes in that game last week. Does he keep that role going forward? Probably not enough value to really consider it. Trey Mooney, obviously, if you don't have Trey Mooney, go get him. McEwen is one that you can sell if you want to. Doesn't have an 80-minute role, as we talked about in the preseason, so he's one you can flick. Then, like Ponga and Best have some popularity, and we'll talk Dylan Brown as well. For Ponga, I know you want to talk Ponga here, Turtles. You're pretty high on him. So lay the case here. Do you think people should be buying him?
Yeah, so a lot of people, you're starting with like Furlongo, Walsh, or Cobbo, or some sort of configuration of that, and maybe some sort of cheapie center wing fullback. Obviously, we get Makasini this week as well, but he's not as reliable coming off the center as well. So Ponga looks really, really good. Knights looks good. And similar thing, we're talking about matchups. They're not going to verse the Cowboys every week. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens here against the Sea Eagles. I also have Dylan Brown, and I basically want to see how Dylan Brown goes again. I'm not going to panic sell. I'm going to give him one last chance, see how he goes against the Sea Eagles. If he can't perform, because the argument is last week we basically saw his floor. I want to see either what his middling score or very high ceiling score would be. And if he doesn't do it back-to-back weeks and he's just going to be plodding along and it's going to be a super slow burn, I feel like at the beginning of the season, we want to be making that money. And there's so much money to be made right now. If there was 3 trades available or 4 trades, I'll probably be making 3 right now. But unfortunately, I can only make 2. So Dylan Brown, kind of a bit of a wait and see. Kalen Ponga, if you already have all those really cheap edges and someone like Moses Leo, I don't mind the buy. So if you already have all these guys, some people are lucky enough to be in that situation. You can buy Ponga. I think it's a great pick because he looked electric. He looked like he was attacking both sides of the field. He was ball running, tackle breaking, stepping people constantly. And along with that, when people are hanging off him while trying to tackle him, he's also throwing offloads. Add in the goal kicking. And if the Knights are going to score 4 to 5 tries a week, which is probably not going to happen, just let's be real. But if they do score 4 to 5 tries a week, then yeah, it's an extra 10 points.
Yeah, he's got some exploitable matchups coming up too. This Manly team is not great in defense. So if you want to get on Ponga, if it suits your team, really, that's the big thing, right? Mm-hmm. So if you've got guys that you can sell, they're at that price point. I don't mind the Ponga shout at all. Bradman Best, by the way, I'm going to stick with Bradman Best for sure. He has good matchups coming up. Attack just didn't go his way. I love the 175 run meters. I don't love I think it was close to 0 tackle breaks, no offloads. Those will come. I'm not worried about that for Bradman Best, so I think he's gonna bounce back. For Dylan Brown, definitely a hold. A lot of people are asking about whether you sell Dylan Brown. I think he's 100% a hold here. So yeah, the base was okay in that game. Did a bit of kicking. You don't ran the ball a bit, but 0 tackle breaks, 0 offloads, and 5 missed tackles is unlike Dylan Brown. Normally, those stats are reversed. So he'll be fine. He's priced at a 35-ish, like maybe a 38, scored a 35. You can live with that. Keep on rolling here. And we got asked to Crossland over Marnie. Definitely not. And we've been asked a few times to talk about Tolu Kola just briefly. All I'll say here is congratulations to those of you who potted up with Kola. He absolutely killed it last week. I wouldn't recommend chasing the points there. I think it was one of the better games he's going to play this year. He just doesn't get that sort of volume of ball every single week. But at the same time, the Knights are a team he could exploit. So if you're a believer in Kola, feel free to jump on. The bet you're making basically is that he's just going to get more ball than previous years, and he's developed as a player over the offseason. He's just going to score more points. The issue is he's already 500K plus, so I'm not as much of a believer, especially in Manly. I'm not super keen on them either. So that's really the main talk on those games. And then, yeah, we've picked up the speed a bit. The last game of the round, and then we'll do a few fantasy questions as well. So we've got Dolphins and Titans, and this should be a solid, attacking, fun game of footy. We got Hammer at fullback here, Asako, Averillo, Farmworth, Cobbo, Nicarima and Katoa in the halves there. Forward pack, Gilbert comes into prop, which is interesting. Schneider, Flegler. Then we have Lemuelu, Finafuyaki, and Knowles. Interchange, Plath returns with Keely, Kafusi, Stone. Then we have Trey Fuller and Sewer on the bench. For the Dolphins, big question is going to be, big questions are, 1, Isaiah Katoa. That was an absolute stinker last week, saved by a junk time try assist. And still, that was only about a 40-point game. Do you panic about that? Number 2, Herbie Farmworth, 55 points. What are our thoughts on that? 3, Selwyn Cobbo. Do you sell or do you hold? Number 4, Lemuelu. Does Gilbert going into the front row imply that Lemuelu is going to keep that 80-minute edge-back row spot? And I guess 5, we could talk about Morgan Knowles and Max Plath more like too. Turtles, I'll throw to you first. Either Herbie Farmworth or Isaiah Katoa. Which one do you want to talk about?
Isaiah Katoa. So basically, if you started the year with him, you're basically locked in. I don't think you should sell him at all. Similar to last year, he kind of ramps it up. So he might start a little bit lower, but not much has changed with this Dolphins team except their forward pack. And if anything, maybe there's a few injuries right now, but if anything, the forward pack will get better with the injuries returning. So with the back line, arguably you could say it improved with bringing in Cobbo as well. I expect Katoa to put in his work, and I feel like that was kind of an anomaly game. I just still expect him to score that 50 to 60 range with the potential of 70 plus, depending how well the Dolphins go. And the Dolphins last year were the number one offensive team in the whole comp. So that was on the back of Katoa and Herbie. Now they have a better forward pack, even though it's injured at the moment. But nonetheless, if you started with him, hold him. It's going to get better.
Yeah, I'm with you there. And I think that applies to all the attacking players for the Dolphins as well, because this Titans matchup is very friendly. We saw the Sharks dominate last week. A lot of people are asking about captaining Herbie Farmworth. Completely reasonable. I think it's reasonable, man. Like we talked about this in the preseason. If you were going to start with Herbie, he needs to be a guy that you're considering as a captain on a week-to-week basis. Like that's how high you've got to rate him. So I think in this Titans matchup, where we've seen the Titans leak a lot of points, on a Sunday slot there at home, could be a cracker. In the same vein, I think Selwyn Cobbo is 100% a hold. If you have Cobbo, hopefully it doesn't rain this week and he gets a bit of clear running because I think he's going to kill it too. So, yeah, for Herbie captaincy, I'm like maybe a 6 out of 10 on it. Like I think it's pretty exciting. It is a bit risky. Personally, I'm going the Cleary route. I don't have Herbie in my side, but if I did have Herbie, I'd give it a bit of a ponder. Turtles, out of 10, Herbie captaincy, what do you think?
I feel like it's better than a Dewey, and I said Dewey was a 7, so probably an 8.5.
Wow!
Just because the Titans leak so many points, look at the edges, look at the back line. It's opportunity for Herbie here, and we didn't see him unlock Cobbo as much last week, so maybe against a weaker opponent, and maybe that we kind of expect Dolphins to win, they're going to start getting all those attacking stats. And we said this back line is very reliant on attacking stats. They're versing the Titans. So what more could you ask for?
Yeah, mate. If you're going to captain Herbie ever this year, this is the week to do it. So go ahead, fire away. The same thing applies to Isaiah Katoa. Hold him for sure with this matchup. Lemuelu, if we'll see how this goes. I'm not targeting Lemuelu for trades because we have so many edge back rows, but if Gilbert stays in the prop rotation, which they have guys coming back, I think Gilbert is going to ruin Lemuelu in terms of edge minutes. So that's my suspicion there, and that's why I'm sort of steering away. Max Plath, hopefully he plays smaller minutes and we get a nice soft reintroduction to the team and losing a bit of cash. And we've got Rohit here, 100 out of 10, Herbie captaincy. So, yeah, he's excited. Now, I can answer this, Kelly. I know you've asked about 8 times. Is Tino a hold? We're on the Titans now. So Keeney at fullback, Fayamani for feeder, Finai, Sami in the back line, Brimson, Ilias in the halves. Forwards are Fodawaker, Verrills, big Tino there. We've got Aramaho, Firma, and Randall in the back row. Curtis Morin, Simpkins, Payne Haas, Kubai, and then Summerton and Harrison on the bench. For the Titans last week, it was pretty bad across the board. So Tino scored pretty terribly in that game. Chris Randall scored like a 26 or something. Arma, he had the 3 near tries, still scored a 40 and played 80 minutes. That's encouraging. We saw Cooper Bai not play a lot of minutes there as well. In the back line, Keanu Keeney scored a 38, which was pretty impressive considering the game. Really, it was a tough one to watch, though, if you owned any Titans players. From my perspective, we're answering this now. Don't worry. Tino, is Tino a hold or a sell? I'm okay if you want to sell Tino. I'm not saying do it, but he played 50 minutes in that game. He is at prop. We did talk about that might potentially impact minutes. The fact that he's at prop, he's going to have plenty of big days as well, but the 50 minutes was not encouraging. But I guess maybe he got less minutes because of the blowout. You could sort of spin this a few different ways. If I started the year with Tino, I'd probably hold him this week, unless I had someone at that price point I really wanted to go to. Like, let's say I had a really good set of middle forwards, and I had Tino, and I really wanted to get Ponga because my wing fullbacks were weak. I might make a trade like that. But I think over the course of the year, Tino's going to outscore Ponga. So, it's a bit of a weird one. I'd probably hold Tino, but if you have a good trade to do, you can move him if you want to. Turtles, the thread you here, you can either talk Tino or you could talk Randall. Are you giving up hope on these guys?
I feel like if I had them, I'll do the same with Dylan Brown. Basically, I'll give him that 1 week chance. If earlier in the preseason we said the rotation to prop for Tino, it might be good, it might be bad. Basically, if we get 2 weeks in a row where the Titans just keep getting pumped and he's only playing 50 minutes, scoring sub 40 at that price point because he's over 600K, then basically we've identified, there's been a role change and it's not met the expectations that we've asked for. So hold for a week. If it performs under 40 again with under 50 minutes, then I'll be all for selling him, basically. With Randall, it's kind of weird. It's like, where are the minutes going, right? Like, Randall's not playing big minutes. Tino's not playing big minutes. Cooper Bye's not playing big minutes. Why is Curtis Moran and Payne Haas? I know Payne Haas has kind of been developing over the past
even they only played like 30 minutes. It's because the edge back rowers are playing 80.
It's so weird.
That's what's happening.
Yeah, it's so weird that the forward rotation, everyone's not getting a lot of minutes here. And it's like, usually they had people who were playing big minutes in this rotation. I know they lost Jamin Jolliffe, who filled a role when Tino was playing lock as well. I feel like it's a wait and see for one more week. Randall, I'm happily selling. I don't feel like if you had Randall, happily sell. Tino, you can wait and watch for a week. Cooper Bye, you're probably selling for one of the cheapies this week anyways, just because he hasn't won that role yet. The coach has come out and said he's not going to be playing big minutes anyway, so he kind of needs that minutes because his PPM is good. He just needs the minutes. So that's my take on those three.
And Arama, by the way, I think he's a hold. I've seen people asking about selling him. No. He played 80 minutes, edge back row spot, and he's won the spot on legitimate form. Like he didn't score 70 like all the other cheapies, but like he is a very good, solid option as long as he keeps that spot. We have a theory coming through from Trent too. Tino, short hair, stink scores. Long hair, big scores. Sell. I love that you typed that out like a caveman as well. It's beautiful.
What about Trindle? Trindle shaved his head and he scored a monster score.
Yep, the shaved head. You got to shave it all the way. That's the key.
So Tino needs to go completely bald. That's what we need to happen.
It's like Walsh. He kind of buzzed his. He's just got to shave it. Go all the way, grow a beard. Yeah, he'd be sweet. For the back line here, if you have Keanu Keeney, I'd hold him. I thought the signs were positive in terms of the scoring. Like he scored decently, but at the same time, he is priced similar to Ponga. So if you got a spare trade, I wouldn't begrudge you for selling him. Like it's tough. It's tough because everything that's against Keanu Keeney was true 2 weeks ago. Yeah. And we called it all out. So if you've analyzed it and you've said you like Keanu Keeney, I think you almost have to stick with your analysis. But yeah, it's kind of a personal call on those types of guys. Like, do you think the form's going to improve? Now, we'll answer some questions, guys. Fire through a few questions here, some trade questions or certain particular players you want us to sort of dig into, and we can talk about it. Keeney, sell for Ponga, easy. Yeah, I think I probably would do that if I didn't have cheapies to target. But it's a hard one because if you've analyzed all preseason, you jumped on Keeney, you definitely like him. Tino for another mid or Brown for Dewey. I'd probably go. I mean, if you can go, probably need a mid. I was going to say Tino for Dewey would be nice. I wouldn't really want to sell Brown for Dewey that much.
Probably Tino for another mid because
which mid?
Maybe he's lost Hopgood or something as well. So maybe you still need that mid. Stefano Commander didn't perform as well. So mid's a little bit tricky. If you expect Yo to get 80 minutes, then I'll go Yo because he looked good. If he played that 80 minutes, he was getting 65 to 70 in that game. So
but if that's your scenario, I'd just keep Tino because both of them are kind of a bit dodgy here. Like I'd say keep Tino. Try to find a way to get to either one of the cheapies or Dewey some other way.
Yeah.
What cheapies are we doing? It's Martin and Couchman are the number one priorities. We talked about, Arama's not too bad here in Jersey 11. Leo's not a bad option either. We're not chasing Lasardi or Chen if you don't have them. Would you sell Hines to get Cleary? I wouldn't make that move, no. So when we talk against Hines this week, we're more talking like don't chase the points and go buy him. But if I had him in my team, he gained like 30K last week. There's every chance he does go well in this game, so I'd keep him 100%. Will you sell Brown to get Atco? I will not. I think Brown is going to be a very similar average to Atkinson this year. I think that will normalize as the year goes on. Thoughts on Tino to Ryan Couchman, then Silfay longer to Herbie? What do you think of that one?
They can easily just end up scoring the same. I do like getting Ryan Couchman, and then obviously you have to use the money elsewhere. For longer to Herbie is an interesting one.
I kind of like it.
Yeah.
I kind of like it.
Especially with this Titans matchup. Yeah. And it's not bad. I like it.
I actually like it too. I think it increases cash generation and also increases scoring. And I think the emergence of all these cheapies means that you can condense your money into a few guns more, and it actually makes Herbie more attractive. So I like that too, man. Missing Ryan Couchman from the gun. Cheapies. Would you sell Tino or Gus? Rest of the team are holds.
Probably I'll sell Tino before I sell Gus. I feel like Gus has that job security, and he's getting less minute. There's a potential that the role has changed and it's not meeting our expectations. So if you're forced to sell one, I'm saying Tino's a hold, but if you're forced to sell one, it'll probably be Tino.
I'd sell Gus. I'd go the other way, just because I like the matchup. So Gilbert loves a missed tackle. Schneider at hooker loves a missed tackle. Flegler still getting back into things. Morgan Knowles loves a missed tackle. I think Tino, if the Titans are going to compete, he's going to have to be amazing. And if you started with him, you give him one more chance. Whereas Gus looks kind of impotent out there. Like, he just doesn't look like the same Gus Crichton. So, but like, both are reasonable options. So you got to hear both cases and not get your question answered. Sell McEwen and Dylan Brown to Couchman and Martin. Yeah, they're fine. I would probably sell someone else over Brown, but they're still solid. In fact, I would sell Colquhoun before I sold Dylan Brown. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't mind that. McEwen and Colquhoun for Couch and Martin. That's easy cash generation. The other guys, Colquhoun's going to still make money. McEwen's kind of a little bit stagnant, I guess. So I like the second trade because I feel like Dylan Brown has that higher upside compared to Colquhoun.
Then we got McEwen buy to Martin Couch is the easiest yes in the world. That's super easy. I'll put this one on a T for you, Turtles. Would you play Macassini or Cobbo this week?
Cobbo. He's just on the wing versus Titans. We said Dolphins backline. Anyone who is on this backline, they've all got attacking stats. They're versing the Titans. Jump on this.
Yep. Every week's a reset. I think that's one thing we really want to hammer here. And a lot of the comments are sort of going with this. It's a bit of an idea that, last week the player scored this, so that's who they are. Not the case. Not the case. A weekly score should adjust your expectations of a player by about 10%, right? So Cobbo, let's say you viewed him as a 40 guy. He was a bit quiet last week. Maybe he drops down a bit. So maybe he's a 38 guy, but then he has a plus matchup with the Titans, which is awesome. Whereas Macassini, we viewed him as a 30 guy. He had those big games in preseason. Maybe that bumps into a 33, 35 average kind of thing. But you don't want to move your expectations too quickly and too fast. Thoughts on Cooper Clark? Looked like a beast, 36 in 22 minutes. Could have been 50-ish. The risk there is they've got so many guys coming back. I think you just wait and see. And his cash generation is not going to be too quick. It's going to be pretty obvious when Loiero and Blore come back next week, whether Cooper Clark has a role in this team, but there's every chance he gets dropped out because he is such a young guy. Drinky to Herbie Turtles. Do you like that?
Yeah, I like it.
Me too. Banger. ICAT for Cleary or get rid of Tino? What do you think, Turtles?
Yeah, sure. I like Cleary. I think Cleary's top 2 captain choices this week.
Yeah, banger. Fair money is sell. I think if you started with fair money, you ride the wave. You nearly had a couple of tries in that game, actually. Dolphins are not defensively that sound as well as we saw last week. So I would stick with fair money. But if he's the only way you can get to Martin or Couchman or one of these guys, you can pull the trigger. It's just for fair money, he's so cheap that he's a nice one to have at that bottom price.
And they might get better with Campbell coming back. And Campbell's it's not a super long-term injury. He's only a couple of weeks. So if he comes back and you get a game manager in this Titan side, maybe they'll stop leaking as many points and he can score some tries. Yeah,
I agree with that. And then we've got a lot of questions coming through. Hopefully we're kind of answering the theme of the questions in general. Hopgood and Walker to Herbie and Lemuelu. I would...
Wait, which Walker? Sam Walker or Kedu? I'm assuming Sam for that price range. It looks like you're chasing the points out of the Dolphins here. I would hold Hopgood. I'll probably sell Walker. You can't get Herbie for Walker though. That's the problem.
Yeah, I'd go back to the drawing board and just look at the cheapies that you need to get.
Yeah,
and fill in the cheapies first. So these scoring cheapies are number one priority. Then everyone else comes after that. Sell Brown if already have Atco and Cleary.
Why do you have to sell? I feel like if he's got to be on the bench scoring you, let's say 40 to 50, then you might as well hold him.
Agree. Best for Dewey, only if you have amazing centers, which I doubt you do. So I'm going to say no. Is Ryan Couchman worth getting if you already have 2 Dragons? What do you think of this, Turtles? Does it impact your decision?
No, I'm going to get him. I have Setutu and Stewart as well. It's fine.
Yep, I agree. Butcher and Brown to Ryan Couchman and Herbie. I actually don't mind that. I don't want to sell Brown, but that's kind of a tidy trade.
Yeah, it's neat because, you're probably selling Butcher. So If you have to, yeah, Brown to Herbie is a clear upgrade, and Ryan Couchman's basically a must-have with Noel Martin this week. So
all this chat's got me thinking about buying Herbie this week now. Like just looking at this matchup too, super tantalizing. Atco and Couchman or Sanders and Martin. Or
I'll go Couchman and Martin.
yeah, me too.
I'll go Couchman.
Let's go the cheapest, 100%. The other two are a bit more expensive, so and that makes a big difference when you're looking at cash cows. Laban and Moses to Ryan Couchman and Cleary is a banger pair of trades. Yeah, that's the best one we've seen. That's a solid.
How do you have that much money?
I guess
Laban and Moses alone don't even equal Cleary.
Yeah, I guess he's got some spare cash in the bank. Then Mayo missed it, but why aren't we rating Haas captain against this Eels side? Haas is definitely a good captain this week. It's just I like Cleary better, but the Thursday curse is real. We've seen that before. The fact that the Broncos are probably tipped to win by a bit in this game. There are holes in this Eels middle forward rotation, though. So Hopgood's out, which means potentially Haas goes in and scores a couple of tries. Like it could be anything for Payne Haas this week. So
I think it's just the Thursday curse, and because of the Thursday curse, and everyone's going to go Cleary instead of Haas, I'm probably going to tip Haas. So we'll do that again, probably the Thursday show where we go for our captains. But Payne Haas for me for captain, just because I feel like everyone's going to go hit Cleary because of this curse.
Yeah, I think it's going to go that way. And then start Setu too or Fayamani. He's very questioning. Look, it's Tuesday, so I'm not locking that call in yet. I would say, I'd probably say, I might say, if Jaden Campbell was playing, I'd say Fayamani because I like the matchup. But without Campbell, I'm probably leaning towards Setu too. It's pretty close. I'll tell you what I end up doing towards the end of the week. But that's our Stun and Dusted, guys. That is Teamless Tuesday. I think we've sort of answered the general vibe of the questions. If you're trading to Martin or Couchman and you're selling someone who's not in your 17, then the answer is going to be yes, which I've seen about 4 billion variants of that sort of trade. If you're trading a non-keeper like a Flegler to Martin, definitely do that as well. Basically, just trying to get your hands on Ryan Couchman and Martin at the Raiders. They're sort of the two you want to go after. After that, it's kind of figuring out which pods you want to go for and don't react to rounds one scores too deeply. Totals, I'll throw to you. Final words of wisdom before we sign out.
Don't believe in curses. I'm going to back Payne Haas here. Up the Broncos.
Up the Broncos. All right. Well, up the Eels. Up the Eels. Last word.